around the cage, on social media in various ways, expressing their heartfelt condolences to the city after just another senseless act takes a couple of lives last night on the Danforth. There's Dwight Smith Jr., 6 strong, showing that with the eye black. Paul Molitor looking up during the ceremony. Saw tweets from, among others, Kevin Pillar, Randal, Grichuk, Marcus Stroman, all sending their thoughts out to the victims and their families, and just makes you think. It really does. And we send our thoughts and prayers, as Jamie said a little bit earlier, to the victims, their families, and to everybody else, the first responders who were so incredible, as is always the case last night. A chance perhaps for a little bit of a diversion and some baseball tonight here at Rogers Center. And Paul Molitor, the MVP of the 1993 World Series, had 3 years with the Blue Jays from '93 through '95. He is back in Toronto as the manager of the Minnesota Twins, having a bit of a disappointing season after they were a wild card team a year ago. They are 9 games under 500, and the most familiar face, of course, belongs to Joe Mauer. Man, has he hurt the Blue Jays over the last couple of years. Good on base percentage. He finds himself in the leadoff spot more often than not for the Twins. Eddie Rosario almost made the All-Star team. He was one of the final 5 for the voting for the last spot in the American League squad. Did not get the vote, but he's been very hot and has put up some big numbers this year.
That is the lineup. Luis Santos will tackle tonight as he gets ready for his first major league start. He was a starter down in the minor leagues for the Blue Jays this season. Made a couple of starts there, giving him an even 100 starts in the minor leagues. He's had some appearances out of the bullpen. There are his numbers in his 5 games with the Blue Jays. This is his 3rd career appearance against the Twins. He made a couple of relief appearances against them last year. How long will he go tonight? It's a mystery. We will see. An inning, 2, maybe 3.
Underway with a fastball, up and away, ball 1. Joe Mauer has been around for a long time with the Minnesota Twins. Of course, he's a native of the Twin Cities, and back at the beginning of his career was a catcher, was a 3-time batting champion, was an MVP 1 year, and he does this extremely well. He hits the ball to the opposite field, and he just about hit it out of the ballpark as Mauer lines one off the left field fence for a leadoff double.
Well, left-handed batters in the American League, nobody does it better than Joe Mauer going the other way. That's why the Blue Jays are playing him straight up, because he's got that type of swing the opposite way. The power isn't there like it used to be. Just 3 home runs coming in, but you can see he comes very close, halfway up the wall in left field for a leadoff double. Joe Mauer has been swinging it lately.
So a leadoff double for the Twins, and here's Eddie Rosario hitting for average, hitting for power. At a 3-home run game last month against Cleveland. The Twins middle of the pack offensively, a lot of similar numbers to what the Blue Jays have. And again, just 44 and 53, 9 games under in baseball's weakest division, and it's the weakest division by far, with Cleveland on top, nobody else near 500. Minnesota went into the All-Star break winning 9 of 11. And maybe, just maybe, said to themselves, you know what? If they go on a tear coming out of the All-Star break, maybe they can put some pressure on Cleveland. They go to Kansas City out of the break, and they get swept by the Royals, who are just 30 and 68 on the year.
Yeah, a devastating 3 games in Kansas City. 9-2 homestand right before the All-Star break, and then in Kansas City, in Toronto, they have to go to Boston after this one. Paul Molitor's group was hoping to get off to a better start in the second half.
Meanwhile, Santos behind 2-0 on Rosario. Santos has been a starter at various points in his minor league career. Made a couple of starts at AAA this year, and started a lot in the minors last year. And I asked Luke Maley, who's behind the plate, I said, what are you expecting? And he said, I don't know. He said, I've seen him go 6 or 7 innings, but that's when he was stretched out as a starter. But the feeling is, if he's on, he may surprise them with how deep into the game he can get tonight. The question is he on? Can he throw strikes? And Maley said, I said, give me the headline. Give me the one-line scouting report on Santos. He said, any pitch, anybody, any count. He'll mix it up, change up, curveball, slider, fastball to anybody.
That's what he has. Fastball, slider, change up. And I think the change up is key, because there's a lot of fastball hitters on this team. Free swinging players on the Minnesota Twins. This is one of them at the plate right here, Rosario. He likes that fastball. He's gotten back into the count by throwing him 2 changeups.
That's right. 2-2. Let's see if he gives him another one. Ground ball down to Smoke. He's got it and will make the play himself for the first out of the night as Maurer comes to third. And a chance to set the defense behind Santos.
Over at shortstop tonight, Lourdes Gurriel will make his 12th start there. It's more natural position. His last start at shortstop was 10 days ago in Boston. He's made 4 errors as a shortstop, but in that series in Boston, he made 3 of those errors at shortstop. This is his more natural position. Right now, he's trying to get some direction where to play Escobar. Now they're going to play him in the shift, but he's got plenty of tools. He can be a big league shortstop.
So there you see Solarte alone on the left side of the infield, even with a bag. He could come home at a ground ball. If Escobar hits one to the right side, it looks like the Blue Jays will concede the run. Eduardo Escobar, not a household name, maybe around the Canada and the U.S. around baseball, but 58 RBIs, the major league leader with 36 doubles, slugging over 500 on the season.
Yeah, look at those numbers right now. Really an unknown last year. And then with the problems that Polanco had this year, they put him in the shortstop position. He's had a great start to his year.
Fights one off to shallow left field, and it's going to get past Hernandez and bounce all the way to the track. Maurer in to score easily on his way to third, and in there standing up Escobar. 1-0 Minnesota.
Outfielders have to make a decision right away. Can I come in and make this catch? If not, you can't turn a single into a triple. Not sure if the ball got into the lights for Hernandez or not, but Escobar gets beat with this fastball. He muscles it into the left field area. Teoscar thinks he can make that catch, but once he misses it, it's a long way for Grichuk, the center fielder, to back him up. Trying to knock it down, keeping in front of him, keep the double play in order, and he just can't knock it down.
Looked like you saw it all the way. It wasn't squinting because of the lights or anything, just couldn't get there. It'll go as an RBI triple. And now the Blue Jays will bring the infield in as Brian Dozier, the second baseman, comes up for Minnesota. Dozier, a pending free agent, is the subject of many trade rumors right now, and it's that time of year. We're all familiar here in Canada about which guys may be traded for the Blue Jays, who the rumors are about. Well, the Twins are going through a lot of the same things, and Dozier's name has come up with teams like Milwaukee and maybe Boston potentially looking for a second baseman.
Well, whoever gets them, and if they're able to pull it off, they're going to get one of the better second half players in all of baseball. Just a couple of years ago, he hit 42 home runs for a second baseman. Does a great job, but right now, being a free agent, Minnesota is going to try and cash him in and turn him into somebody. Infield is in, excuse me, Dan, with Dozier at the plate, runner at third base. You can see Solarte, Gurriel, Travis, and Smoke all in. StatCast AI is powered by AWS. They will be going home, and I'm sure the runner being in the first inning is going to make that ball go through.
1-0 Minnesota early here at Rogers Center, and a 1-2 count on Dozier.
No need to run into an out this early into the ball game on anything that stays in the infield.
Smothered by Maley. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Dozier has a lot of power for a middle infielder, and again, you got to believe he's going to be somewhere, given that he's a free agent at the end of the year. You can see he didn't do much at all, didn't do anything, in fact, against the Blue Jays back in Minneapolis when the Jays saw them in late April and early May. The Blue Jays taking 2 out of 3 from the Twins.
Threw a lot of breaking balls off the plate, and he was swinging at them.
Fastball gets him swinging, 2 down.
That fastball from Santos can be sneaky after a lot of changeups and breaking balls to get the count to 2 strikes. He heats him up with a fastball. Belt high, and Dozier can't come up with it.
So 2 down, and now here is Logan Morrison, who was the designated hitter for the Twins. was with Tampa Bay the last couple of years, and Tabby hit 38 home runs last year for Minnesota, but has not been able to produce at that kind of a clip here with the Twins in 2018.
Got off to a rough start with this team. And anytime you switch teams and you want to make an impression, a lot of times there's that added pressure, and that pressure for Logan Morrison was trying to get off to a good start. He just couldn't.
And just back the DL off the DL today, missed the last 10 days with a hip issue. Chased a high fastball 1-1, and you can see how frustrated he is with himself that he went after that. The Twins in the offseason, we mentioned they were a wild card team last year, and they made a lot of moves in the offseason. They're not known as an organization that spends a lot of money, but they either signed or traded for Morrison, Lance Lynn, Fernando Rodney, Jake Odorizzi, Addison Reed. They added some vets to try to take them to the next level, but it hasn't come together for them at all this year.
Well, injuries have really hurt this team. They are missing two of their key players, offensive players. Miguel Sano, who is in the minor leagues, and Myron Buxton, who's been battling injury, it seems like his whole career. He too is in the minor leagues. You take those big bats out of anybody's lineup, and heck, the Blue Jays know all about that with some of the guys they're missing.
Santos trying to minimize the damage. Hard but foul. Very hard but very foul, fortunately for the Blue Jays. Santos will take a little walk and tell himself it's just a foul ball.
Yeah, don't throw that there again. He tried the same thing he did to Dozier to strike him out, tried to elevate a fastball, but he didn't get it up high enough. Morrison with a little bit more power and left-handed, sees the ball a little bit sooner.
Again, the 1-2, and it missed outside. 2 balls, 2 strikes. You could see Maley had slid to the inside of the plate. It was supposed to be a down and in breaking ball, and actually missed outside. Shift on against him. Solarte alone on the left side, runner at third, and the Twins already up 1-0 here in the early going.
If he can strand that runner at third base, I think it would be a mental victory for Santos. Runner at third base, less than 2 outs.
Change up. Morrison wouldn't bite. Full count. See Morrison very methodical between pitches, on the batting gloves, the deep breathing, probably having a inner conversation between every pitch, it looks like, about what he's looking for next.
I bet you he learned that from his hitting coach when he was a kid growing up in Kansas City. Kevin Seitzer was his batting coach growing up. Did a good job with him.
Little squibber back toward the mound. Maley in time to get him, as Santos got out of the way just in time, and the Twins get 1 here in the top of the first. They're 46 and 52 on the season. And here's a look at John Gibbons' lineup tonight with Randal Grichuk in the leadoff spot tonight. He's been bouncing all over the batting order in recent days, and no matter where they put him, he's been hitting lately. And you could say the same for Lourdes Gurriel Jr. Came off the DL yesterday, had a couple of hits, 5 consecutive multi-hit games.
Yeah, the hot bats at the top of the lineup for the Blue Jays because they will face Adalberto Mejia. Adalberto Mejia will make just his second major league start this season. We mentioned that Santos is making his first career start. This is his second start this season. 14 games in AAA, pretty good numbers. 5-3, 332 earned run average. He's also making his second career start versus the Blue Jays. Faced him last September, lost that ball game. Gave up 3 runs in 3 innings. Paul Molitor wants him to trust his stuff in the strike zone. He's got pretty good stuff, but he can nitpick at times.
And Grichuk leading off. He's hit 7th, 5th, 2nd, 1st in recent games for the Blue Jays. And it was his 2-run home run in the 8th inning that got the Blue Jays close in yesterday's game. And then Jan Hervis Solarte's 2-run homer that gave him the lead.
Well, his timing at the plate has been so much better. You can see him early in the season. He was really crouched over and hunched over at the plate, and it seemed like the fastball was beating him so many times. He was standing up before he was swinging. Now he's upright just a little bit more. The timing is better at the plate, and I'll tell you, when he squares it up, it can go a long way.
3-1. Checks the swing. They appeal. No swing, and he draws a leadoff walk. Mejia made 21 starts for the Twins last year, so this is his 23rd career big league start. And the numbers he had in his start June the 30th against the Cubs, Paul Molitor says dismiss those. 4 innings, 4 runs, 6 hits, 3 walks. It was a brutally hot day. 3 Twins left the game due to heat stroke and had to get an IV after that game at Wrigley Field that day. So Molitor says throw that one out. Let's give him a clean slate on this one.
Well, you can see what he's talking about nitpicking, just trying to be too perfect. He's averaging about 18 pitches per inning. That's what he did last year. He's got major league stuff. He just hasn't been a finished product.
Gurriel reaches for one and lifts a fly ball into shallow right center. And Robbie Grossman is there to make the catch. 1 down. A chance to look at the defense behind Mejia.
Minnesota Twins have committed 52 errors this season. There's their everyday shortstop, Jorge Polanco. One of the better players for the Twins in the second half last year. Just reinstated July the 2nd from the restricted list. Served 80-game suspension violating Major League Baseball's Joint Drug Prevention Treatment Program. He has started all games, all 16 games, since he has come off of that suspended list at shortstop. They really missed him first half of the season.
Here's Justin Smoke. 1 out, 1 on. Bottom of the first, 1-0 Minnesota. Smoke hitting .243, 16 home runs. Second baseman Dozier playing up the middle, but still on the right side of the bag, so not a gaping hole on the right side of the infield for Smoke. I'm interested when Smoke bats from the left side and when Kendrys Morales bats from the left side, how the Twins defend them. In a game a couple of days ago in Kansas City, Paul Molitor employed 4 outfielders against Lucas Duda and just 3 infielders.
They did that against Smoke in Minnesota when the team was there.
Hard hit ball up the middle, a base hit. Grichuk will pull up at second, 2 on with 1 out.
Let's keep swinging. I don't care where you play him. When you're swinging hot, you're going to find the holes. Smoke has been very productive lately. About a week or 2 before the All-Star break, that's when he started to be a little bit more aggressive, and that batting average has started going up.
And here's Teoscar Hernandez. And that sinking liner off the bat of Eduardo Escobar get by him to the fence for a triple, top of the first. Would love to do some damage here in the bottom half. Make him feel better about the start to his night. Lays off that changeup away for ball one. Hernandez out of the lineup yesterday. Back in. Granderson out tonight. On the infield, Devin Travis was out yesterday. He's back in. Aledmus Diaz is out tonight. A high fly ball to deep left. Rosario trying to find it, and finally will on the warning track. Grichuk will tag and come to third. What an adventure that appeared to be for Eddie Rosario, but he made the catch.
Well, if you're not used to playing in a dome stadium, the ball can go up and get lost. You can see him looking up into the roof. The ball goes up very high by Teoscar Hernandez. Luckily for Rosario, gave him a chance to finally find the ball. Got up above the lights, and I think that's when he picked it back up. Initially off the bat, watch him go back, turns his back, has no idea where it is. Then he finds it and then heads to the warning track to haul it in.
And now looking at where he's supposed to be positioned for Yangervis Solarte. Looks pretty calm there considering the route he took to that ball, but he made the catch, and it's first and third, 2 down. For one of last night's hitting stars for the Blue Jays, it was his 2-run homer in the bottom of the 8th, his club leading 17th, that gave the Jays a 5-4 lead and eventually that 5-4 win.
Tell you how valuable he has been for this team. That home run you were just talking about, his 7th go-ahead home run this year for the Blue Jays. He has had a knack of coming up with big hits for the Blue Jays so far this year. Three and 1 count. This is yesterday. First and 30. He knows he's going to get a fastball. And he clocks it to left field. 2-run home run.
Part of that 4-run bottom of the 8th rally. Bouncer foul, 1-2. And he has played just about every day. I think he's maybe missed 1 game since Josh Donaldson went on the DL. Diaz started once at third. I think it's only been the 1 time though. Solarte's been in there almost every game.
Getting great production from Solarte. I don't think anybody realized he was going to have this type of season. He wasn't really slated to play every day, but he's had the opportunity. He's made the most of it.
And if you look at the numbers he's put up and how they project towards the end of the season, 157 games, nobody saw that coming when he came to Toronto. This would be easily a career high in home runs if he continues at the pace that he's on, and will put up a pretty impressive RBI total as well.
His career high in home runs was set just last season at 18.
Playing more and playing in a much better hitter's park than he did in San Diego. 1-2 again. Broken bat, pop up. Where is it? I think Maurer lost that one in the lights, had to wait for it to come down. And then he feeds Mejia at the bag. Some adventures for the Twins in the field, but it doesn't cost them on the scoreboard.
The senseless mass shooting in Toronto's very popular Danforth area. Athletes from the city's professional sports teams are weighing in, including members of your Toronto Blue Jays. Kevin Malar tweeted this: woke up and heard about the mass shooting here in our amazing city. Really sad by the news and for everyone that was involved. Prayers go out to the victims and their families. Hashtag Toronto Strong. Randal Grichuk is incredibly heartbroken to hear of yesterday's senseless tragedy in his city. He tweeted that it's already come to think of it as home. Grichuk went on to thank the incredible first responders for their quick action. Of course, Dan, we'd like to add our condolences to everyone affected by such a cowardly act against the very good people of this city.
Absolutely. Just horrifying news to wake up to today, and a lot of the players talking about it before the game, and we'll continue to do so. And again, our thoughts go out to the victims, the families, those recovering from injuries. We wish them a full and speedy recovery. 1-0, Twins leading the Blue Jays, top of the second, and here's Jorge Polanco, the Minnesota shortstop, against Luis Santos. It is a bullpen night for the Blue Jays. Marco Estrada, if you're not totally up on the news, originally was hoping to start this game coming back from the glute strain, but they felt he needed one start in the minors first. So with 10 relievers on the roster right now, it'll be Santos in a bullpen game as this ball is hit foul down the right field line. And the Blue Jays will try to get all they can out of Santos. Nobody up in the bullpen. He's at 24 pitches. Estrada, by the way, will start tomorrow in a AAA game in Louisville. You may see Tepera, you may see Loop, you may see Axford, you may see all kinds of guys down there. They got lots of arms. And Barucki will be recalled from the minors to start tomorrow. They couldn't call him up tonight because when you option somebody down to the minors, they've got to stay there for 10 days unless they're replacing an injured player, and that 10 days is up tomorrow. So Estrada now hoping to be back next time around on the road trip if everything goes well and according to plan in his minor league rehab start for Buffalo in Louisville tomorrow night.
Well, you might be asking yourself, well, why didn't the Blue Jays just call up a reliever or a starter from the minor leagues? A fresh arm, a guy who was scheduled to start. Said there really wasn't an option down in the minor leagues to bring a starter up here. Yep, that's Dane Johnson. He's already made the move to get a left-hander up.
Well, they got 3 down there. And there's ball 4, leadoff walk to Polanco. Well, Jaime Garcia may be in play a fair bit tonight. We'll wait and see if it's him who's getting up right now.
It looked like Tim Mejia who got up.
And it is. Everybody's at the ready tonight in the bullpen. They all know they could get called on at any point in time. Leadoff walk for the Twins here in the second, and here's the center fielder Max Kepler making his 27th start of the season in center. He plays mostly right field. Tabby talked a little bit about Myron Buxton, who was about as good as any player in baseball the last couple of months of last year. Demolished the Blue Jays in a series here, hit for power, tremendous speed, great defense, but he started off this year slow, was really struggling, came down with migraine headaches. They put him on the 10-day DL. Then he fouled off a pitch and hit his fractured a toe, went back down to the minors, and he's just not with the big club right now. They're trying to get the stroke back, trying to get his health back, and hoping to get him back at some point this season.
Yeah, it was in the minor leagues on a rehab that he fouled a ball off his foot and cracked a bone, hit his foot. He's been hurt on and off his whole career, but we saw him last year in August in this ballpark just destroy the team. I think he hit something like 5 home runs in that series.
He won the Platinum Glove in the American League last year, which means not only was he the Gold Glove recipient in center field, but then they have something called the Platinum Glove, the last glove of the last 5 or 6 years, where they pick one of the Gold Glove winners, and that person is kind of the best fielder at any position in his league, and Buxton was that guy.
You know what he gave them offensively also? Some juice on the bases. I think he got thrown out maybe one time all of last season in steal attempts. So if you walked him, it was probably a double.
Meanwhile, Santos fighting his control right now. Leadoff walk to Polanco. Not going, and a swing and a miss. 2-2 now on Kepler. A little bit tricky for Paul Molitor to think about his lineup tonight because he knows the situation. He knows after Santos comes out, he knew a lefty would come in, and then a righty, and then a lefty. It's just one of those games. You're going to get who you're going to get.
So is Santos the first opener in Blue Jays history?
I don't think of it that way. I think this is a bullpen day. You know, this is different than Tampa Bay, where they would start a guy like Ryan Stanek for an inning and then go to a guy for 6 innings like Yarbrough or whoever it was. Pete Walker, he's going to be on the phone about 7 times tonight, I think, down in the bullpen.
And you're hoping you get 2, 3, 4 innings and quicker results. He's thrown 32 pitches, 17 strikes, 15 balls.
Yeah.
He's really fighting his control and command right now.
He's only gotten 3 outs on those 32 pitches. Runner is going, swing and a miss, throw down by Maley, and they got him easily. Strike him out, throw him out, double play.
Polanco had been 3 for 3 in stolen base attempts, but it looked like he played that one more like a hit and run. Make sure the pitcher goes home, and then you take off trying to stay out of the double play. 4-seam fastball from Santos, elevated, strikes out Kepler, and then Luke Maley's done a great job this year. He's thrown out 31% of the base runners trying to steal against him. Easily gets Polanco at second base. Now that will help Santos there.
Yeah, man, does that change the complexion here in the top of the second? All of a sudden 2 outs and nobody on, and here's the catcher Mitch Garver. Takes a little bit high, ball 1.
2 outs on 1 pitch. The best friend of a pitcher, the double play.
That one catches the upper end of the zone. 1-1. Twins have some lefties up at the top of the order. Malar, Rosario, the top 2. That's probably why Mejia's up if it gets that far. Two balls, 2 strikes on Garver. Run across on an RBI triple in the top of the first. Now 2-2. A swing and a ground ball up the middle. Diving stop. Travis's throw not in time. Oh, a terrific effort by Devin Travis, way over to the left side of the bag. Just couldn't get it there in time. That'll be an infield hit.
He has shown better range going to his right. He's at the top of your screen, and there he goes. Knocks it down, picks it up, fires across. He knows the catcher's running, so he's got a chance. But Mitch Garver, he wants that base hit. He's going to beat it out. Great effort by Travis.
So a 2-out base runner here for the Twins, and the batter was the number 9 hitter in right fielder Robbie Grossman, and this is probably last batter one way or another for Santos, with a couple of lefties due up next and Mejia warming in the pen. Grossman is a switch hitter, hitting .255 and hitting over .360 thus far in the month of July. Part-time player for the Twins.
What a good player. Can do different things for you. You mentioned he's a switch hitter. Paul Molitor was asked today, why is he hitting 9th? Why shouldn't he be hitting more at the top of the lineup? He said, you know what, I want to get him in there, but I want him hitting down so when we flip that lineup over, he's got a great on-base percentage. .335 coming into this game. So you want to stack some guys at the bottom of your lineup for Malar, Rosario, Escobar, so they're hitting with guys on base. Here are the numbers for Robbie this year.
Breaking ball down and away, 2 balls and a strike. 41 pitches thrown thus far by Santos, 22 strikes, 19 balls. And in all likelihood, again, whatever happens, you're facing his last batter.
Yeah, you got Malar and then Rosario, 2 very good left-handed hitters. You'd like to retire them so you can walk off the field with your team.
And Mejia a little bit easier of a situation to inherit as well.
Pitching out of the windup, he's had trouble getting his breaking ball over here these first couple of innings. His changeup hasn't been bad. His fastball has been good. We've seen some 93s and some 94s, and he's put him in a good spot, but he hasn't been able to get his breaking ball over.
Trying to finish it here. Full count. And that'll give Garver a running start from first. Smoke trying to let Santos know he's come off the bag and he'll play behind the runner. Well, that's a lot of work to try to get 6 outs tonight, the way this one's going for Santos.
Well, I think this pitch will tell you a lot about him, how he's feeling right now, if he challenges him or if he tries to throw a changeup. Looks like he's going to challenge him.
Challenged him with a fastball and he got him. So 3 strikeouts in his 2 innings, 1 run allowed. Probably the end of the night for Luis Santos.
August 10th. 2 events, 1 night. Join us pregame for a live performance from the Jim Cuddy Band. The patio opens at 4:30, weather permitting. For tickets between the Blue Jays and the Tampa Bay Rays, visit BlueJays.com. Dan.
Thank you, Hazel. To the bottom of the second, the Twins leading the Blue Jays 1-0 in the opening game of 3. Got another 7 o'clock start for you tomorrow night. And make note of it Wednesday. For watching, listening, or maybe attending purposes, it's a 4:07 start, 4 o'clock start, if you will, on Wednesday afternoon before the Blue Jays head out on the road. A long road trip.
Long one.
Yeah,
3
Chicago,
cities.
Oakland, and Seattle. Old-fashioned 3-city road trip.
That's right. And a 4-game, culminating in that 4-game series in Seattle.
Kendrys Morales, first pitch swinging, drives the ball to deep center field, but it is playable. Kepler there, 1 down.
The diverse Civic family, our most powerful lineup yet. Honda, proud fan since 1977 and the official vehicle of the Toronto Blue Jays.
Dan Shulman and Pat Tabler. Hazel May, glad you're with us tonight. As we bring you the first game of this series from Rogers Center, here's Devin Travis. Hitting 246 home runs on the season. And takes a little bit outside to get the count in his favor at 2 balls and no strikes. Facing Adalberto Mejia. The Twins piecing together portions of their rotation right now. Irvin Santana will come off the DL and start for the Twins against the Blue Jays Wednesday. It'll be a season debut after having calcium deposits removed from his finger, and a setback cost him the first 3.5 months of the season. They want to keep him on schedule. And as Travis hits a ball up the middle and into center field, a base hit. So Santana will start Wednesday, so they needed somebody for tonight. So for the moment, they've got a 6-man rotation, but wouldn't surprise anybody on the Minnesota side of things if Mejia were sent back down when Santana is activated.
They were trying to get a definitive answer today in the office of Paul Molitor, and he's like, hey, guys, I don't know. What if he goes out and throws 7 shutout innings? I mean, somebody else can get injured. There's so many, things that can happen between now and Wednesday with this team. And I think Molitor's right. You don't say anything until you have to say something.
Here's Dwight Smith Jr. 1 on 1 out.
But that's a big miss too. I'm with you. I thought Minnesota was going to challenge for the wild card, and they still may. There's still some time. They were in the playoffs last year with 85 wins. I thought they would challenge with all the moves that they made in the offseason. They got some good pitchers to help them through, but things just haven't worked out. Santana hasn't thrown at all this year.
Lance Lynn hasn't pitched like he has in the past.
You know who else hasn't pitched for him? Michael Pineda. Remember, they picked up Michael Pineda this winter, and he hasn't thrown a pitch for him. That tells a big story right now for this team.
They've lost 9 in a row on the road, including the 3 to Kansas City out of the All-Star break.
12 of their last 13 on the road.
Look at that ERA over 7. Opponents hitting almost 300.
Averaging almost 2 base runners per inning from their pitching staff.
For Kansas City, it was Milwaukee and Chicago against the Cubs, where they had that losing streak begin on the road. Paul Molitor in the first year of a new 3-year contract. Got an extension at the end of last season. And what a tremendous player this guy was. Youngsters out there, go to whatever website you go to get your baseball stats and look up those numbers. Yeah, you. Did you know he had 3,319 hits? Paul Molitor is 10th all time in baseball in hits. He's top 20 in runs scored and doubles as well. World Series MVP, as we mentioned, with the Blue Jays. Hit 332 that year, 1993. The next year he hit 341. He's a Twin Cities native, so he's home. Of course, most of his career was with Milwaukee, where he and Robin Yount were such an incredible combination. But this guy's not just a Hall of Famer. He's a special Hall of Famer with the kinds of numbers that he put up.
You know what made those numbers so special?
Smith with a pop-up. 2 down.
He missed so many games early in his career because of injuries, elbow injuries, side injuries, all the injuries that he missed. He missed so many games. Played in 111 in 1980, 105 in 86, 118. I mean, he was missing games, still ended up with over 3,300 hits.
Had over 500 stolen bases in his career. And he was one of the guys who, towards the end of his career, transitioned into a DH with the Blue Jays. He was by and large a DH. When he came up at the beginning of his career, He played different positions. He played second base. He eventually transitioned into generally a third baseman. Played some first towards the end of his career when he wasn't DHing. Man, he could hit. I mean, even at 39, 40 years of age, he could hit.
He had the great body and the great swing to do it. After he started playing and the body didn't hurt him. I mentioned all the injuries early on. He played every day.
I wonder if his players know how good he was. I mean, they've got to know he was a Hall of Famer, obviously, but not all the young guys today. They're not all students of the history of the game. I wonder if they know how good that guy was.
Well, shame on you if you don't.
Fouled off by Melee.
There's so many ways to look it up. It's so easy.
Yep.
All you have to do is look it up, wonder. How good was he? Well, you said it. 10th all time.
Runner at first, 2 down and a ball and 2 strikes to count on Blue Jay catcher Luke Melee. And that's all for the Jays here in the second. They'll leave Travis aboard and trail 1-0 at the end of 2.
Senior and junior followed very different roads to baseball stardom. This intimate all-access documentary tells the complex family story of the last great Expo and the next great Blue Jay, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., namesake, Sunday following the ball game right here on Sportsnet.
Yeah, that's pretty good Sunday afternoon. Blue Jays and White Sox at 2 o'clock Eastern, and then namesake with Vlad Sr. and Jr. at 5 o'clock Eastern. Tim Mejia into the ball game.
You want to talk about the Buffalo Shuffle. Tim Mejia has been on the Buffalo Shuffle. He has been up and down 6 different times already this season. The last time, July the 8th, he was recalled from Buffalo. He's allowed a run in just 3 of those 15 appearances for the Blue Jays this season. So get used to this. Another reliever. He throws hard. Key for him, he's got to get that breaking ball over for strikes.
There's Joe Mauer, who doubled and scored back at the top of the first. A double for Mauer, the 416th of his career, number 415 on Saturday. Set a new Twins franchise record. He passed the late great Kirby Puckett, who had hit 414 doubles for the Minnesota Twins. And Mauer lines another one to left field, this time for a single. He hits the ball to the opposite field about as often as any hitter in baseball.
Better than anybody. Stays on that ball. And they have had some great hitters over the years, the Minnesota Twins. You mentioned Kirby Puckett. How about Rod Carew? This is their highest average with the Twins since they moved from Washington to Minnesota. Rod Carew, number 1. Puckett, there's Joe Mauer at 307. And Tony Oliva. People forget how good Tony Oliva was.
Malar had that one phenomenal year. I mean, he had a number of great years, but he had one phenomenal year, Tabby, 2009. He hit .365 with 28 homers at an OPS over 1,000. That was the year. After that season, he was eligible for free agency. Hometown kid. They re-signed him to a big contract. 8 years, $184 million. And he's never been able to come close to duplicating that power. There's a weakly hit ground ball to Travis. Mauer puts the brakes on, and they'll only get the one. Gurriel holds on to it. Will not try to get Rosario, who reaches on the fielder's choice.
I do believe, Dan, that 28 home run season was the last season at the Metrodome. Much easier to hit home runs in that ballpark.
Yeah, and since then, even though he still gives competitive at bats, he takes a walk, he hits for a good average. You know, he moved from catcher to first base, and there have been times where people have been really down on him in Minnesota because he didn't do again what he did that year. Quick aside, I was on a road trip with my kid, and we went to see a game, and it was a Twins game, not a Blue Jays game. We went to a couple of parks. One of them was Minnesota, and I mean, people were wearing Joe Mauer out in the stands. And again, he's a hometown kid. He was a 1-1 pick, right? First overall pick. And you look at his career numbers, he's had a heck of a career. But because of how great that one season was in the minds of some people, you know, he's never been able to live up to it again, and some people have been down on him since.
You know what? If he happens to leave, those same people who you say were all over him are going to realize, hey, this guy was pretty good. Yep. We shouldn't have been so hard on him. This guy, he's a great hitter, 3-time batting champ. Catcher. He won those batting championships as a catcher, the only catcher ever to do that.
He's 35 years of age, a free agent at the end of the season. I got to believe they find a way that he wants to stay, and you know, this is the kind of guy, there'll be a statue for him if he finishes out his career with the Twins. I got to believe there's a way to keep him. And one of the quietest, nicest guys that you'll meet in baseball.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Anybody would love to have him on their team, and Minnesota would make a huge mistake if they let him go. He has turned into a really good first baseman defensively. He was a Gold Glove type of catcher, and he's played a Gold Glove type of first base since he's moved over there. That'll prolong his career. I think that was a good move for him.
He's over 2,000 hits in his career. Over 400 doubles, as we mentioned, a .307 lifetime average. And Mejia misses outside, falls behind 3-1 on Eduardo Escobar, who from the left side of the plate had that sinking liner to left that got under the glove of Hernandez to the fence for an RBI triple. Now he turns around to bat from the right side against Mejia. Ball 4, 2 on with 1 out. And Luke Maley will head to the mound.
You know, if you're John Gibbons and you start to think about trying to piece this together, assuming you're going to play 9 innings, you have to start thinking, okay, I got Santos to get through 2. I think you start to roll the dice and try to say, okay, I need some quick innings here, guys. You got to give me 2 innings. What you can't do is start running into 1-inning relievers. You're going to run out of pitchers. You're not going to have enough to finish off this ball game. They do have Jaime Garcia in the bullpen, and he is a multiple innings type of pitcher.
Here's a ground ball to short. Gurriel to Travis, on to first. Not in time. Crowd is booing. Fielder's choice, first and third, 2 down. I think Paul Molitor is interested in the play out at second base, whether Devin Travis had his foot on the bag. The Twins are on the phone. I don't think the Blue Jays are on the phone about the play at first base. And that's Derek Shelton, his bench coach, who was the quality control coach for the Blue Jays last year.
This happened for the Blue Jays in Boston.
Yep.
Just a little bit too quick, but you could see from that replay.
He was there.
He was there.
Yeah.
That was a very slow to develop play defensively for Toronto.
So Dozier aboard in the fielder's choice. Rosario to third, 2 down. And now a lefty-lefty matchup between Mejia and Logan Morrison, who grounded out his first time up. And Mejia's going to step off because Rosario's 40 feet down the line. He'll back off to the bag now that Mejia saw him out of the corner of his eye or was alerted to the fact. And now Solarte, the third baseman's come closer to the bag at third to try to keep the runner closer.
Put the pickoff play on. Catcher to third.
Well, you talk about a big hole on the left side of the infield now, with Solarte having to play close to the bag at third and Gurriel around on the right side of the infield. Look at all that space.
Mejia would be a tough guy to try and pull if you're a left-handed hitter. Hard fastball, hard slider, but if you think about hitting where he hits 11% of his ground balls, he'd have an RBI single.
Maley with some signs for the infield in case Dozier breaks from first.
Those signs just in case Brian Dozier takes off over at first base. He's 5 for 8 in stolen bases. If you feel you can get a jump, why not steal and get into scoring position? With the shift, a base hit then turns into 2 runs instead of 1.
There he goes. Pitch taken for a strike and no throws. Dozier takes it standing up.
Yeah, I didn't think the Blue Jays would throw down there, not with Rosario at third base. So get a jump. Steal doesn't do anything to the defense. Changes the way they're going to play with a runner at second now and a runner at third base. This is the play that Maley threw out there. I'm just going to fake with my arm and see if Rosario commits. It's an easy stolen base for Dozier. And now a hit. It's 2 runs.
Mejia waiting for Morrison to get back in the box. Second and third, 2 down, 1-0 Minnesota, top of the third. And the pitch comes in low, a full count. And again, the quicker the pitch count climbs for Mejia, the sooner John Gibbons has to go to somebody else in the bullpen. Yesterday, Biagini, Patricia, Axford, and Clippard all pitched. O did not. Tepera did not. Jaime Garcia, as you said, is in play. He's obviously a guy who potentially can give them some length. Up the middle, and that is a base hit, and that will score 2 runs. On his way to second is Morrison, and he's in there, and Minnesota's got a 3-0 lead.
That's why you try and that steal. Paul Molitor, that's his brand of baseball. Aggressive, pick up 90 feet, and it's going to get you a run. They beat the shift with this ball back through the middle. No chance to get Dozier, so an ill-advised throw here. He overthrows the cutoff man, and that allows Morrison to pick up another 90 feet. He's in scoring position. Slider against the left-handed hitting Morrison. He stays on it. Catches too much of the plate. 2 runs are going to score.
And so far, the bullpen game is not going as the Blue Jays would like it to. Down 3-0 early. Here's Jorge Polanco, who walked in the second. 3 runs on 5 hits already for Minnesota. Santos, the starter, went 2 innings, gave up a run on 3 hits. He threw 44 pitches. in his 2 innings. Mays has thrown 18 so far here in the third. And a slider in for a strike on 2-0.
Polanco, we mentioned that he was really good in the second half last year. He drove in 74 runs as a shortstop last season for the Minnesota Twins. 5th highest total for a shortstop.
Popped him up, and I mean way up. Gurriel makes the catch. The Twins are retired, but not before Logan Morrison drives in a couple to give Minnesota a 3-0 lead. Tabby, since he came off the DL from that knee injury, he's been a much different looking guy.
Look at the home runs, 4th most in the American League with his 11 home runs. Slugging percentage 6th highest in the American League since coming off the disabled list at the beginning of June. And right now he's made some of those adjustments at the plate. He's upright just a little bit more. He's got tremendous bat speed, and I think his swing plane is so much better. Early in the season they were really pounding him with that fastball up, and he just couldn't get to it. And then breaking balls down, anything in, middle in, he's been crushing. And I think that goes to the work that he's done with Brooke Jacoby, trying to flatten out that swing, getting the swing plane, and getting his timing much better at the plate.
Dug himself a pretty deep hole in the batting average department with the way that April went, so he's still digging himself out from that at 213 right now. He's been kind of a 240, 250 hitter in his career. Has shown some power, has been streaky in his time with St. Louis.
I'll take that. I'll take 250 if you give me 25, 30 home runs, which he could do. I looked up some of the numbers before he went on the disabled list. You know what he hit against the fastball? 088 against the fastball. They were pounding him in. So they straightened him up in his work. They got that swing plane figured out, and he's hit since coming off the DL 329 against the fastball. That's one of Brooke Jacoby's pet peeves as a hitting coach. Hey, be ready to hit that fastball. Be on time. Get that swing going early.
To deep right center field. Kepler caught the ball. He held on to it before crashing into the wall. Boy, a tricky play up against the scoreboard in an unfamiliar ballpark for Kepler. That's a great catch.
Yeah, you can't take your eye off that ball because of the roof tonight. Ball will disappear. Kepler normally plays right field. They have been blessed with some great defensive center fielders over the years, the Minnesota Twins. Kepler times his jump perfectly, tried to jam that foot against the wall but missed. It slid right off of that scoreboard, but he's able to hold on to the ball as he crashes to the ground. Mejia likes it, and Grichuk is robbed of another extra base hit.
Really good play by Kepler for the first out of the bottom of the third. And here's Gurriel, hit a fly ball to right field his first time up. Remember, coming into this game with 5 consecutive multi-hit games. He's up to 281 now, and was out before the game, although he's the shortstop tonight. Remember, he was the second baseman yesterday, made an errant throw on a double play attempt early in the game, and so he was out taking ground balls and trying to make throws on the double play way before batting practice from the second base position today.
Yeah, and it's all about footwork. He is a work in progress. He should come out every day with Luis Rivera. There he is right there. He's the infield instructor. They have him out here early working on footwork around the bag, how to catch the ball with 1 foot on the base, and how to turn different double plays, coming across the base, using the base as a defender, backing off of the base, and it all depends on the throws from the infielders, from the third baseman and the shortstop. The shorter the throw, you go across the bag. That's what they were working on. He's got plenty of arm strength, and I mean plenty of arm strength for a second baseman. So he doesn't have to rush anything. His arm strength will make up for his lack of experience.
Yeah, he's learning on the fly. He's learning a lot of things on the fly, and we've said it a lot. We'll probably say it again. He'll make some great plays, and then he'll make some plays where you can see the inexperience. And he's out there with Luis Rivera and Mike Mordecai. Yeah, backhand flip to second, among the things. He was making throws from second. He can do this, though, as he lines it to left field for a home run to put the Blue Jays on the board.
That's why he is such an intriguing prospect for the Blue Jays. He's a prospect that can homer and can hit. You mentioned multi-hit games in 5 straight games. He also has power and it's starting to come out. That's number 5. He can handle the off-speed pitch. If you try and bust him inside, he can turn on it. Intriguing.
And chatting it up with Kendrys Morales, as he does after just about every at bat.
Belt high fastball. See ya.
Number 5 on the season for Lourdes Gurriel, and just his second day back off the DL after the concussion. Ball jumps off his bat.
Yeah, he's got a nice path to the baseball. He's able to elevate that ball out of here.
Justin Smoke lines one into left field. His second hit of the night.
Well, you'd love that as a hitter. You're down 0-2, and he throws you a cookie over the middle of the plate. Good hitters know what to do with that. He turned on that pitch.
And the Blue Jays starting to have some better swings on a Mejia, second time through the order.
0-2, you're in defensive mode, and a pitcher does this, spins a little breaking ball over the middle of the plate. You say, thank you very much. I'll take my base hit to left field.
So a run in on the home run by Gurriel, a man on with 1 out for Teoscar Hernandez, who hit a fly ball to the warning track his first time up. Little over anxious, expanded his strike zone on the first pitch.
You like what you see from Teoscar. He just missed that ball in the first inning.
He hooks one into left field, and that's down for a base hit. Up to second goes Smoke.
Second time through for the Blue Jays now. Grichuk lined that ball. Remember, to lead off this inning, Kepler made an outstanding catch. Then home run, single. Blue Jays getting a better look at Mejia now, second time around.
Nobody up in the Minnesota pen. The Blue Jays getting to Mejia here in the third. A deep fly ball, then a homer, then a couple of singles. And now let's see what Yangervis Solarte can do. He grounded out his first time up.
Second time through, at least according to the numbers, he throws more breaking balls, and the Blue Jays have hit breaking balls this inning.
That's a good job by Solarte there not to be a little too excited. Back-to-back hits, couple of men on, thinking RBIs. Did not go after a pitch upstairs.
Well, get yourself into a position to get a fastball. You know you're going to do. That's what he did yesterday. 3-1, hit that 2-run home run on a fastball. He knew it was coming.
Maybe a break there for Mejia on a pitch that looked like it was outside, but it's 1-1. Just one out in the inning. Smokes at second. Hernandez is at first. 3-1 Minnesota. And the hits now even at 5 apiece. Fouled off to the right. 1-2. Other than the Yankees, the Blue Jays have been the biggest nemesis that the Twins have had. Going back a lot of years, the Blue Jays have just dominated Minnesota. They're 61-28 against Minnesota, going back to the 2008 season. Took 2 out of 3 at Target Field earlier this year. Remember, Jose Bautista used to hit like crazy in that ballpark.
Made that ballpark look small.
And it's big. Chase down low, 2 down.
Only the Yankees have a better winning percentage than the Blue Jays since 2006, and some of those were in the playoffs. They've been the nemesis to the Twins in the playoffs. The Yankees have eliminated them many times.
So 2 down, 2 men on it. Here's Morales. Hit a fly ball to deep center his first time up. Tabby, you know how we promoed that show coming up, Namesake, on Sunday about Vlad Sr. and Vlad Jr.? Well, guess who did what tonight?
Did he do something special?
Vlad is back. Well, he's been back for a few days, but he hit a home run tonight for New Hampshire in his second at bat with Bo Bichette on base. I think that's something Blue Jay fans could get used to hearing over the next decade or so. Bichette on, Guerrero coming up.
Yeah, quite possibly. They got to finish off their development. I like that they've sent him back to Double-A and let him reunite with his team. He was gone for about 6 weeks or so, and stay in Double-A, do your thing, try and win a championship.
Right center field, but Kepler's there, and that's all for the Blue Jays here in the third. They get the run on the home run by Lourdes Gurriel Jr. and now trail 3-1 at the end of 3. Gurriel with home run number 5 on the season.
wrestling superfan, so when an event was taking place in the city last night, he decided to take Joe Biagini with him. Biagini had never been to a live wrestling match, and I asked Granderson whether he thought Biagini enjoyed the entire experience. Granderson said, quote, well, he didn't say he didn't like it, just said he can understand why people would be into it. Now, I asked Biagini what he thought, and he admitted he didn't know what to expect. It was a little bit shocking at first. He said it took him a few minutes to, quote, understand the essence of it all, Dan. But in the end, he really got into it. He felt comfortable enough that he could have asked for a onesie and get into the ring.
Well, that would be something. What an odd couple that is, huh? Curtis Granderson and Joe Biagini.
But for some reason, Joe Biagini at a wrestling match, that doesn't seem odd to me.
No, that makes sense.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
That second picture was pretty funny. 3-1, the Twins lead the Blue Jays, top of the fourth. Tim Mejia back out for his second inning of work. And bottom third of the order for the Twins, Max Kepler, Mitch Garver, and Robbie Grossman. And again, just kind of playing along with John Gibbons here, as Dane Johnson, as if he heard what we were about to say, answers the phone down in the bullpen. Remember the lefties Malar and Rosario at the top of the lineup. So I think Gibby, if he could, would love to get Mejia through those lefties, but it depends on how this inning goes and how many pitches Mejia has to throw.
Do you have a direct line to the bullpen?
I do not.
It looked
Nor
like
do I want one.
You were talking to him right there. Hey, get so-and-so up.
It's going to happen all night long on this bullpen night. Let's see who the next contestant is. Tim Leeper putting his 2 cents in.
The coaches do such a great job for all these teams. There's so much information they have to decipher. Strike three as he slips that breaking ball by him. You got to chart pitches. You got to look at the defense. I mean, they're here early in the afternoon to go over everything for that game. I mean, just watch Leeper. He's got the outfielders. He's been looking at because he's the first base coach. He's been looking at moves, pickoff moves, when to go, where to set up his outfielders. He's got some young outfielders he's got to work with tonight. So he is constantly looking at charts, stats, and putting his players in the right spot. It's not easy being a coach.
No. Bench coach DeMarlo Hale, pitching coach Pete Walker. Louis Rivera, the third base coach, handles the infielders. Tim Leeper, the first base coach, as you mentioned, handles the outfielders.
It's almost like a father. You know, the players become your kids, and you try and teach them everything you can, but then you have to sit there, and if they don't get a hit, you die along with them just a little bit. You feel for them. Or if a pitcher doesn't do well, you feel for them. And there's nothing you can do about it because you have to sit there and watch it. But they all do a great job. They put their time in, I'll tell you that.
You're right. Mike Mordecai, the quality control coach for the Blue Jays. You saw Brooke Jacoby, the hitting coach, a little bit earlier. Slider taken low. 2 balls, 2 strikes on the catcher for the Twins, Mitch Garver. And Aaron Loop is up in the bullpen. So if somebody is needed, maybe during that Mauer Rosario part of the lineup that's coming up, it'll be another lefty and Loop. By Travis into right center field for a base hit.
Super Slow-Mo Cam. Brought to you by Samsung Galaxy S9 and S9 Plus. The camera we imagined. Available now.
The Blue Jays down 3-1 to Minnesota. Tim Mejia on the mound for the Jays. His second inning of work after Luis Santos went 2 to start the game here on this bullpen night. And here's the number 9 hitter, Robbie Grossman, a switch hitter. Turning around to bat for the right side against the left-hander Mejia. So the Twins with 4 lefties, 3 switch hitters, and 2 right-handed hitters in their lineup tonight. Cleveland out in front in the American League Central at 54-44. Minnesota's second, 9.5 back. They're 9 games under 500. They're 9.5 out. Then you go down to Detroit, White Sox, and the Royals, and by far the weakest division in baseball.
There's too many teams that are doing the rebuild thing. Kansas City, they won a World's Championship just 3 years ago, and now they're rebuilding. The White Sox, they're in full rebuild mode. You can throw Detroit in there. So I thought Minnesota had a chance for the wild card this season.
Weaker schedule.
That's right.
And a liner to right field. That's a base hit for Grossman. Up to second on the play goes Garver. And here comes John Gibbons. So the parade of the bullpen will continue. An inning and a third for Tim Mejia. We're going to see a lot of arms coming out of that Blue Jay bullpen tonight. Next up will be Aaron Loup. Mejia goes an inning and a third. He's given up a couple of runs and responsible for these two guys out here right now. And John Gibbons making the walk. He's going to make a lot of times tonight. One lefty out, another lefty in, with the Twins threatening again.
Community partners. Hope everybody enjoys tonight's ball game. Dan.
Thank you, Hazel. As Aaron Loup comes in, third pitcher of the night for the Blue Jays.
He worked a couple of games in that Boston series right before the All-Star break, but then did not see any action versus the Orioles in that 3-game sweep. 45 games for Loup this season. Just 31 2/3 innings. He's got a couple of lefties he's got to deal with now.
Beginning with Joe Mauer, who's already 2 for 2. He shows bunt and takes a breaking ball in for his strike. Mauer doubled off the left field wall in the first, came in to score, singled in the third, was forced at second.
I don't know if that was a decoy right there, but or a chance to get a base hit. He's only 1 for 8 in his career versus Aaron Loup. Maybe he was trying to draw Solarte in so he can slash it by him.
Look at those numbers, though. Runners in scoring position, 408 on the season. Only Yuli Gurriel, Lourdes' older brother, has better numbers with runners in scoring position this year than Mauer. Up the middle, a base hit. Garver's going to round third, head home. The throw comes into the infield on an RBI single by Mauer, who's now 3 for 3, and Minnesota leads 4-1.
You know, where do you play him? Teams now use that shift to take away tendencies from hitters, but if you can spray the ball all over the place like Mauer can, there's going to be holes everywhere. That time right back through the middle. And the Twins get that run back that the Blue Jays just scored last half inning.
Well, he's an extreme example because he hits the ball up the middle into the opposite field more than just about anybody. But as you say, when you can do that, You see a lot more green out there from the batter's box, I would imagine.
Yeah, there's more holes.
Yep. There's Eddie Rosario. Rosario 0 for 2.
In a way, Joe Mauer reminds me of Wade Boggs. How do you pitch to him? How do you play him? Where do you play him? Boggs had that ability to take it out of that catcher's glove and just slash it to left field at the last second. Mauer can do the same thing.
And he's going to try to push one up the third baseline for a base hit, but he bunts it foul. This from a guy who's having a big time offensive season, hits for power, and is third in the league in base hits this year.
Came into this game with a .309 average, 19 homers and 62 RBIs. He's really blossomed into a really good hitter. Got great hands. Quickens up the bat.
And chases the slider down and away for out number 2.
Well, you can see why he wanted to try and bunt against Aaron Loup. Aaron creates a lot of problems for left-handed batters when he drops down like that and sweeps that breaking ball away. Rosario just can't pick up that breaking ball. And Loup picks a good time to get a strikeout.
Now here's Eduardo Escobar, who has tripled in a run and also drawn a walk. And he pulls a base hit into left field. Grossman getting the wave around third. Hernandez's throw not in time. It's another RBI single, and it is 5-1 Minnesota.
Escobar, they have him in that third spot. He's been a very productive player for them. That's going to be his 60th RBI of the season. He drove in a run in the first inning, pulls his first pitch from Loup into the outfield for another RBI. No chance for Hernandez to get the runner at the plate. He was off on the crack of the bat.
So the Twins haven't hit the ball out of the ballpark yet, but they are making a lot of solid contact. Line drives all over the place. They've got 9 hits already. As Brian Dozier takes a strike. Mauer's 3 for 3. Escobar's 2 for 2 with a couple of RBIs. Garver's 2 for 2. He scored a run. Logan Morrison had a 2-run single. They're just stringing hits together and beating up on these Blue Jay relievers who have had to work early in this game because it's a bullpen night. No real starting pitcher for the Blue Jays tonight. Tim Mejia charged with 4 runs in his inning and a third. You know, John Gibbons will have to use a lot of guys to get through tonight. Of course, he's going to need some guys out of the pen tomorrow night. We'll see some roster. We'll see at least one roster move. Obviously, with Barucki coming up, somebody's going to go. We could see more than one before tomorrow.
I think you always have to play the what-if game and think about the worst-case scenario. What if the starter gets knocked out early tomorrow? You have to have reinforcements. You'd love for tomorrow's starter to go 7 or 8 innings, make things a little bit easier. Yeah, we saw him already this year throw. Kentry's looked pretty good on the mound when we saw him earlier this year.
And you see that around baseball more than you ever have before. We've seen a couple of teams use 3 different position players in the same game where they were getting blown out.
Did the Cubs do that the other day?
Cubs did it, and I think in like an Arizona-Colorado game, one of those teams did it. Two balls, 2 strikes. Loup a long look into Maley as Dozier waits patiently. Finally, Loop's going to step off. Santos faced 9 batters. Mejia faced 9 batters. This is the 4th batter faced by Loup. And a swing and a miss and a slider down and in to end the top of the 4th. But 2 more across for the Twins, and they now lead 5-1.
championships and celebrate Blue Jays heroes of the past. On Saturday, August 11th, the first 20,000 fans will receive this Alomar, Molitor, and Olerud triple bobblehead. For tickets, visit BlueJays.com, and don't forget to arrive early for the pregame ceremony.
Well, I hope somebody brought one of those down to the visiting manager's office and gave him one before the game. Can we get this guy a bobblehead?
We got to do that before they leave town.
Yeah.
That's going to be a heck of a weekend, too. They're going to be celebrating the World Series teams that weekend. A lot of the players are going to be back in town.
Celebrating both World Series championships that weekend, 92 and 93. Molitor unavailable, obviously, managing the Twins.
Yeah.
Otherwise, for sure, he'd be here. Devin Travis got it off the end of the bat. And it's a routine fly ball to left, one down. Kind of a funny conversation we stumbled into in the clubhouse earlier tonight. I was asking Devin Travis about his time as a player in the Little League World Series.
Yeah.
And I said, how well did you hit? And I was kind of joking with him. He goes, I hit pretty well. He goes, actually, I think I held the record. And he didn't specify hits or batting average or whatever. I think I held the record until the next year when Randal, and he pointed to Grichuk. He goes, when that guy broke it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now Travis and Grichuk are trash talking Little League World Series stories at one another across the clubhouse, because Grichuk actually played there 2 years, and in his second year he was like a monster. He was 11 for 17 with 4 homers or 5 homers or something like that.
Yeah, he was playing up the first time.
Bouncer down to first, and Grichuk's Little League team the second year got knocked out in the U.S. semis, or they would have played Travis's team in the U.S. championship. And Grichuk said today, we had our best pitcher rested. If we'd have gotten to you, we'd have shut you out, but they never got that far.
Trash talking.
It's great, huh?
But did you pick up on Travis saying, you know, he at first he said, well, I'm not sure what I hit, and then he goes, but I hit 682.
Right, yeah.
I said 682. You sure it wasn't 683, 684? No, 682.
Yeah,
he knew.
They remember their numbers from when they were 12 years old.
Oh, that's awesome, though, isn't it? Who knew that those two would be teammates in the big leagues? That's cool.
Luke Maley.
And you're going to do something about the Little League World Series on your podcast.
Yeah, I've already talked to Grichuk. I'm going to talk to Travis, get his memories of it tomorrow. You know who else played in the Little League World Series? Kevin Cash played in the Little League.
I didn't know that.
Maley with a fly ball to right field. And that's a 3-up, 3-down, bottom of the 4th. Still 5-1 Minnesota. Time now for a Blue Jays Central update. Here's Jamie Campbell with Joe Siddall in the Samsung broadcast studio.
Unforgettable. The Tour de France, July 7th to 29th on Sportsnet 1. WestJet's first Dreamliner is coming, and it's a game changer. Get ready for a refined travel experience. Visit 787.westjet.com to see the whole story.
And a nice gathering in the WestJet flight deck here tonight, but so far it's been the Twins who have had more to celebrate tonight. The bullpen night continues. Joe Biagini is the fourth pitcher of the night for the Blue Jays.
Yeah, Joe pitched in yesterday's game an inning. He's reached for a home run from one of those other Little League players that you were trying to run down. Jonathan Scope reached him for a home run in yesterday's ball game. All told, though, Joe threw an inning, gave up a couple of hits, and just that run. Been pitching much better since he has been moved full time to the bullpen.
Logan Morrison leads it off for Minnesota, grounded out in the first and had a 2-run single in the third. He'll be followed by Jorge Polanco and then Max Keppler. Shift on for the Blue Jays as the first pitch from Biagini's a curveball that catches the outside corner. Morrison, another guy who would not be on the pace of play committee if they decided to set that kind of thing up amongst the players. But he's not alone. There are a lot of offenders. Thinking about bunting for a base hit against the shift, but he takes it low.
Well, it's early on, and they've got that shift on. He's facing Biagini, so why not try and lay a bunt down? There are the numbers. That's why the Blue Jays are in that shift. Travis, you have anything in that 35% area. The Smoke, you have 32. Gurriel has shifted over and lined it up perfectly. Morrison trying to bunt his way on. I don't have a problem with that. It's only the fifth inning, and it's only a 4-run lead.
High in the air to deep center field. Grichuk back at the fence. It's gone. Logan Morrison with a home run number 12 extends the lead to 6-1.
Had a 2-run single his last time up. Trying to bunt his way on. He said, you know what, forget that. Let me go ahead and swing away. And the results are pretty good. He's going to drive in his 3rd run of the night. That gives him 35, his 12th home run. Looked like some type of off-speed pitch. Yeah, changeup out over the plate. And Morrison, with that uppercut swing, gets it airborne and out of here.
So the Twins have now scored in 4 of their 5 innings so far tonight. 1 in the first, 2 in the third, 2 in the fourth, another here in the 5th. They've already got 10 hits on the night. That's their first home run of the ball game.
First time that they are seeing Joe Biagini this year. Last time they faced him, Joe was a starter. He started 2 games against them last year and didn't last very long. They got to him very early.
Down low, 2 balls, no strikes to Polanco, who has walked and popped up. These two teams with similar records. The Blue Jays at 46 and 52. The Twins at 44 and 53. Outside corner, 2-1. Santos a couple of innings, gave up a run. Mejia 4 runs in an inning and a third. Adalberto Luke 2 hits in his 2/3 of an inning, and it was with Loop on the mound when 2 of Mejia's runs came in to score. And now Biagini gives up a home run to the first batter he faces. And if it's going to keep going this way, Tabby, I'm sorry, if you're John Gibbons, you don't want to use guys you may need tomorrow night, but you may need some of them tonight because you got to get 27 outs somehow.
Well, depending on the score, I think John will go right along with the score. He's got plenty of bodies out there, as you can see, all those pitchers. But you're right, you got to save some of them for tomorrow.
Well, Jaime Garcia's got to wind up in this game at some point for multiple innings, you would think.
The way things are going right now. This from a team, the Minnesota Twins, who have really struggled to score runs. They got swept by the Kansas City Royals before they came here. They have lost the first series after the All-Star break for 5 consecutive seasons. Who would have thought that going into that series?
3-2 to Polanco. And A ground ball to the left side, backhanded by Gurriel, and Smoke can't dig out the wide throw. And safe at first is Polanco.
You know, he's got such a strong arm, and I think he'll learn the difference between balls that you catch on the run and throw on the run, and balls that you can backhand like he backhand there, and then plant that right foot and use the arm strength to get the out. That's a perfect time to just plant the right foot, get more on it, and accurately over to first base.
It has scored a base hit for Polanco. And by the way, we found out we were talking with Howie Starkman before the game.
Yes.
It was the official score in last night's game, not in tonight's game. And that play where Diaz and Gurriel collided last night, Gurriel had the ball. Gurriel was originally charged with an error on the play, and the reasoning being that Gurriel went onto the other side of the bag and I guess into Diaz's territory, and that's what caused the collision. But today, and official scores can change their minds later on. Today that was changed to a base hit. Meanwhile, a shot to right, and Max Kepler has hit it out. And the Twins are running it up on the Blue Jays now, leading 8-1.
Kepler with his 13th of the season. They scored a total of 10 runs in 3 games at Kansas City. And getting swept by the Royals, they've got 8 on the board already through 4 plus innings tonight. Breaking ball got beat by the curveball. Kepler stays down on that ball. Eyes following and tracking that curveball, and it just gets over the wall in right field.
That curveball looked like it started off at about the letters and wound up down below the knees, and he tracked it all the way and still hit it out. So Biagini's faced 3 batters and he's given up 2 home runs. And nobody's up in the pen. Again, the Blue Jays got to squeeze some outs out of some guys here. They got to. Biagini's already the 4th pitcher of the night. And now a fly ball down the left field line, well hit and off the base of the wall. And Garver's on his way to second base and in there with a stand-up double. And I want to welcome you back. We understand we were having some technical issues, so our thanks to our friends on the Twins side for we borrowed their feed for a little bit. It is 8-1 Minnesota, no matter what show you're watching. And Garver's at second, nobody out. Here's Robbie Grossman up for the 3rd time. He has struck out and had a base hit. In foul territory, Solarte down the line, and it's beyond him and into the seats. On a bounce. The Twins, this is the 27th batter to come to the plate for the Twins. Of the first 26 tonight, 15 of them have reached by either a hit or a walk. 13 hits, 2 walks. And a strike 0-2.
Nothing wrong with his fastball. It's just been up. Got beat with the changeup and then the curveball, but that fastball had some nice run to it. and it was a low 90s. You can see from those first 2 pitches to Robbie Grossman that ball was up, both of them.
And strike 3 called for the first out here in the top of the 5th. So you know your team's having a good night when you come up for the 4th time and it's the 5th inning. And that's what's starting right now with Joe Mauer, who has 3 hits already, a double, 2 singles, a run scored, an RBI. Where would you pitch him if you were out there right now? Where would you try to get this guy out?
Right down the middle.
Really?
I mean, that was the word on Wade Boggs.
Right there.
Right down the middle. Boggs was so good. It's like, okay, he's guessing right along with me. Let me throw fastballs right down the middle. Maybe he'll outthink himself. You know what I mean? Maybe Joe Mauer will do the same thing. This is where the good ones, the great ones, stay hungry. He knows he already has 3 hits in the bag right now. This is where the good ones really think about, okay, I want a 4-hit night.
Double to left, single to center. And as you can see, has been doing a lot of damage against the Blue Jays. That goes back into last season. Two balls and a strike. Biagini can look around, as he may have just done right now, and he can see there's nobody up in the bullpen, and he understands the situation. He's going to need to stay out there for a while because he is a guy who can go multiple innings, and regardless of the score, they need as much as they can get out of everybody who's out there right now.
And he knows also this is 2 days in a row. He's probably not going to throw tomorrow, so you got to empty the tank tonight.
Curveball for a strike, 2-2.
Mauer is such a good breaking ball hitter, especially with 2 strikes. These kind of hitters prey on pitchers with bad breaking balls.
Not only is this his 4th at bat of the night, it's the 4th different pitcher he has faced in those 4 at bats. That doesn't happen all that often. And that'll be the same for Rosario when he comes up. So he doubled off of Santos. He singled off of Mejia. He singled off of Loop, and now he's facing Biagini.
I asked him when we were playing them in Minnesota, what's the biggest difference to the game now than it was when you first came to the big leagues? He's 35, and I believe he's had 14 seasons in the major leagues. He said the pitching. He said when I first came in, I'd face the starter. I'd face him maybe 3 times, and then maybe the closer in the 9th inning. Now I might see 3 or 4 different pitchers a game.
Hard hit ball up the middle, and Gurriel there to make the play. 2 down.
Take on any project with Home Hardware. Proud partner of the Toronto Blue Jays. Here's how.
Tabby, I think they're taunting us with food.
Yes. Bring him up here.
Because they know dinner was a while ago at the pace this game is going. Runner at third, 2 down, 8-1 Minnesota, top of the 5th inning, and Eddie Rosario is 0 for 3. They got 13 hits, 8 runs. He's 0 for 3, although he has scored a run, reached on a fielder's choice, and scored back in the 3rd.
Mauer's right, though, isn't he? The way the game is now,
Yep.
you're facing different pitchers. I mean, a starter might go 5 or 6 innings. You might get 2 at bats against them now. Then you've got the lefty specialist. You've got the 7th inning guy. You got the closer.
1-1 the count on the Minnesota left fielder. And it just misses outside of the knees, ball 2, and there is more activity now in the Blue Jay bullpen. It is right-hander Jake Patricia. And a ground ball out to second. Here comes Travis in time at first to get a Rosario and end the top of the 5th. With 2 homers, 3 more runs for the Twins. They're up 8-1.
Watch every out-of-market regular season game live or on demand. Your subscription includes MLB That Premium, allowing you to watch live baseball on your favorite supported devices. Blackout and other restrictions apply. Visit MLB.tv to take advantage of this very special offer.
All right, Hazel, thank you. Well, I hope that fan is still having a good time. Waiting 81 years, 2,000 kilometers. And on a bullpen night that hasn't gone very well for the Blue Jays, the Jays are down 8-1. Hopefully there's still some fun to be had.
Thank you for being a fan.
Absolutely.
For all these years. Hopefully you can stick around and maybe tomorrow.
Yeah.
Thrill you.
And only halfway through this one. There's a ways to go as here Randal Grichuk leads off the bottom of the 5th against Adalberto Mejia. Grichuk has walked and flied out to deep center, robbed really by Max Kepler, who made a great catch up against the scoreboard in right center field.
Looked like they were getting to Mejia that inning, because right after that home run single, the Blue Jays have gone down 5 in a row since then.
After Grichuk, Gurriel and Smoke, the top third of the Blue Jay lineup tonight. Red Sox are up 1-0 on Baltimore in the 4th inning in the opening game of that series at Camden Yards. Rick Porcello and Kevin Gausman, the pitching matchup. Yankees are trailing Tampa Bay 4-2 with Luis Severino on the mound. Jake Bauers, who we saw down in St. Petersburg, young player for the Rays, looks like he's got a bright future. He's homered off Severino tonight.
They have another makeup game now, the Yankees. They lost their game yesterday. Their interleague game with the Mets got washed out.
It was pouring in New York.
Was it? I figured the last time that they would face each other, you know, they were sitting around waiting a long time for that one.
They're going to make it up in August. Whoops. Full count. comes the shortstop Polanco to get Grichuk for out number 1 as we check in with Jamie Campbell. How about that for a story?
Wow.
Huh? Good for him.
I saw the story in the headline today that he was going to be pitching after having brain surgery. Wow. Good for him. I hope he does it.
Let's see what his pitch count is. He's at 90 pitches through 6. So going to be tough the way that things go these days.
Did you take him out? Guy's throwing a no-no.
You know the answer to that question. It happened to Ross Stripling. It's happened to 3 or 4 guys in the last couple of years. Don Mattingly had to do it with Stripling. Dave Roberts had to do it with somebody on the mound too.
Pitch counts. I could see with young pitchers, you know, if you're worried about injuries and things like that. But hey, this might be his only chance of doing that. I saw that in the minor leagues years ago. Oil Can Boy was throwing a gem against us in AAA, and the manager had to take him out because he was on pitch counts and inning counts and things like that. I was playing third base at the time, and the managers, you know, they manage and they coach third base at the same time. And he said, in between innings, what should I do? should I take him out, or should I leave him in there? He's throwing a no-hitter. And I told him, I said, well, I'm coming up next inning. I'd take him out.
And?
He took him out.
You took him out. Nice.
Yeah.
I hope you got a base hit.
I don't remember what I did.
I think you got a base hit.
I could say I did.
Sure.
But I honestly cannot remember what I did.
Man, I would imagine the first time you saw Oil Can Boy, like in a minor league game, if you'd never seen him or heard of him before, it must have been, who is this guy out there? He was something.
He was good.
Oh, I know.
He was a good pitcher in the minor leagues, and then, of course, up to the big leagues. Yeah, his career flamed out very quickly.
He had talent. Here's Justin Smoke, 2 for 2. Foul off again. It's 1-2 on Smoke. 248 on the season with a couple of base hits tonight. 8 runs on 13 hits for the Twins, a run on 5 hits for the Blue Jays. They got a runner at first with 1 out here in the bottom of the 5th. Patricia still up on the mound of the Blue Jay bullpen, so that may be all for Biagini. We may see Patricia in the top of the 6th. Did you ever break up a no-hitter in the big leagues? Were you ever involved in a no-hitter in the big leagues?
Yeah. I had the front row seat of Nolan Ryan's 7th in 1991.
And by front row seat, you mean in the dugout?
Yeah, I wasn't playing. Of course I wasn't playing. I was watching, and even though it was against our team, it was amazing to watch what he was doing.
Because he was well into his 40s by then.
I think he was 45 or 46, something like that. And he was bringing it 16 strikeouts in that game. No hitter. But I do not remember breaking up a no hitter anywhere.
(3-2), and that's pulled foul. If the box score I'm looking at is correct, Ponce de Leon walked the first batter in the 7th, and he's now he's at 102 pitches facing the second batter First batter walk, still got a no-hitter going, but
is it still 1-0?
Yes, I don't like his chances, man.
I don't either.
Mejia to first to get smoked. Gurriel to second on the play, 2 down.
The Cardinals are still thinking about trying to win the game. It's only 1-0. Yeah. It's not like it's 8-0.
They're an interesting team. You know, what do they do in the next week or so with the trade deadline coming up? They're kind of right on the fence. Are they in? Are they out? Do they buy? Do they sell?
They've got the prospects if they want to buy down in their system, and there's some talk about them maybe making some deals, but they're on the fence. How about what the Pirates have done in that division?
What have they won, 9 in a row?
9 in a row. They're 2 games over 500. They have leapfrogged St. Louis.
And the National League's a whole different story than the American League. There are so many more teams in it in the National League. There aren't as many maybe superpowers, but there aren't as many bad teams in the National League. You've got 11 of the 15 teams, 11 at 500 or better. You really got 11 teams in the playoff race in the National League right now.
They aren't printing the wild card stats, do they? Just yet? Can you find that? How many?
The standings?
The standings in the wild
Absolutely,
card of national. Okay, so how many teams are 5 games out of the wild card?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So you got the 3 division winners, and then you got the other 8 teams
going for 2 spots.
Are all within 5 games. Yeah,
it's
8
going to be
teams
a lot
going
of fun.
for 2 spots. Right now, Milwaukee and Atlanta are holding the wild card spots. Arizona, Colorado, right there. Pittsburgh, St. Louis, San Francisco, and Washington. Washington has the 11th best record in the National League
at 49-49.
Yeah.
Question becomes, those teams that are leading the wild card, why aren't they making a deal to get players to help them now?
Ground ball to second. And Hernandez and the Blue Jays are gone here in the 5th. It's the Twins 8 and the Blue Jays 1. And perhaps another man in for the bullpen. Looks like it. Here comes Patricia.
From last year, the Rogers Cup, presented by National Bank, begins August 6th right here on Sportsnet. To the top of the 6th, and back to Dan Schulman and Pat Tabler, guys.
All right, Hazel, stick with us, Hazel. 8-1 to Minnesota. Jake Patricia becomes the 5th pitcher of the night for the Blue Jays.
Blue Jays might have found something here in Jake Patricia, the way he threw the other night and the way he's been throwing lately since he's come back from the minor leagues. In 16 games this year, 1-0 with 320 earned run average, but he's been throwing much harder. He said he went down to the minor leagues, started using his lower half a little bit more, and I'll tell you what, the other night against Baltimore, we saw some 98s and some 97s with some great movement.
He was originally a second-round pick by the White Sox back in 2010 and spent a number of years with them, but ran into a lot of injuries the last couple of years. And then today, unfortunately, ran into two announcers who went up to him one after the other and asked him identical questions. You were lucky, Tabby, because you were first, and you went up and said, man, you know, you're throwing harder and what's going on and you're healthier. And he gave, you know, all kinds of eloquent answers about overcoming a hip problem and how now he's able to load better, whereas maybe he was protecting it before. This ball lined to right field, and there is Smith, one down. And he spoke with you for 2 or 3 minutes, and I was on the other side of the clubhouse doing something else, and then I see him and I walk over to him and literally ask him the exact same series of questions that you had just asked him. But to his credit, he answered all of the questions very nicely and professionally.
And I was within earshot too, and I heard that, and I'm like, what do we got, the tape recorder going right here? He was on his way out, and he graciously stopped and talked to you. And
yes, and we appreciate that.
Yeah, he's a good guy. But what he did, he basically was saying, I started turning my body just a little bit more, that front side, and loading up. It feels like he's really throwing harder now.
You know, at the beginning of the year, it felt like, hey, he's a guy they brought up from the minors because they had a need, and you never know, and let's see, and all that. But he looks like a guy who could start figuring squarely into the plans.
Well, if he throws anywhere close to what he did when he first came up, watch the bottom half turn. Look at that nice turn now. The timing is so much better, and you're getting your legs into your pitches now, and he's throwing a lot harder and with that great movement. But if he could throw anywhere near he did when he was with the White Sox, I don't know if you remember when he first came up, he was filthy.
We mentioned yesterday had 14 saves back in his second year in 2014. And look at the movement on that pitch, where it started at and where it wound up hitting the bat of Dozier off the inside corner. Patricia says, I don't throw a four-seamer. Every fastball is a two-seamer. And I figure if I don't know where it's going, they don't know where it's going either. That's what he said to me today. And it's got a lot of movement.
Well, I just hope Luke Maile knows where it's going, because if it's tough to try and hit, you know it's tough to catch.
That time the slider, and a swing and a miss to get him. 2 down. Let's get an update from Jamie. Still an incredible story, though, for a guy making his major league debut, overcoming a very serious injury when he was hit in the head by a line drive as a minor leaguer last year. Was in intensive care for a number of weeks, needed surgery to relieve the pressure on his brain, and comes out in his major league debut and throws 7 no-hit innings. Good for him.
Now get him the win in his first big league game.
Logan Morrison's had a good night, 2 for 3 with a home run and 3 RBIs. Third time he's driven in 3 or more runs in a game this year. Two down and the base is empty. And there's a fastball over the inside corner, 1-2. Patricia is bringing it here against the Twins. There has not been a 3-up, 3-down inning for the Twins so far tonight. They've scored in 4 of the 5 innings coming into this one, but Patricia trying to settle things down and have an efficient inning.
That was a changeup at 90 miles an hour. Trying to get a little extra movement on that pitch. See if they bust him back inside with a good fastball.
Looks like fastball away is the sign from Maile. Executed the pitch, fouled off by Morrison, with yet more activity in the bullpen, and a guy that I think we all knew would come into this game at some point, Jaime Garcia. And he probably still takes a little bit of extra time to get ready. Obviously a starter at the beginning of the year, transitioning to the bullpen, but he will be needed here tonight.
Multiple innings go against his former team.
Not for long, his former team. He wasn't with
No.
them very long. More on that when he eventually comes into the game. Patricia with a 1-2-3 inning, including a couple of strikeouts.
With Lourdes Gurriel Jr., Rivera said they concentrated on his footwork around the bag, wanting to ensure he took the correct foot to the bag in order to get into a better position to catch and then throw that baseball. I asked Rivera about last night's miscue in the 8th inning. Rivera said the shortstop is always in charge. He's the field general. Rivera said he spoke to Gurriel about it afterwards. Gurriel told him as soon as he saw Diaz stop out of the corner of his eye, he made the decision to go for the ball because he didn't want it to get through the infield. Rivera said what they like about Gurriel is he's very aggressive out there and has a lot of range, but he reminded Gurriel that he's got to be aware of his surroundings and communication with his fellow infielders has to improve. Dan.
And again, as we said, as you said, Hazel, a work in progress. We talked about it for all the time he's been up in the big leagues this year as Solarte lines one into center. The tools you see from Gurriel are intriguing. You can see the potential. There are also some gaps in his game right now, some things he's got to tighten up in order to thrive at the big league level.
And this is where you polish off young players and finish their development at the big league level. I don't think there's anything he needs to learn at the minor league level. He's got to learn it here against the best players. You get great coaching up here. You saw all the people that were involved in what he was doing today, and it just means a lot. He just has to play. He's got to come every day and come out early. When you're in the minor leagues, at least it used to be that you would come out every day and work on something. Somebody be out there and working on cutoffs and relays, ground balls, hitting, pitchers working on their moves over to first base, whatever it is. I think that's what he's going to have to do the rest of the season to catch up with everybody else.
And he certainly seems willing to do it. You talk to the coaches, they say he's more than willing to do it. And you know what, in the off season and spring training next year, they could say, well, let's try him in left. Let's try him at third. Like, who knows what they're going to decide with him, right?
Hey, all you have to say to a young kid is, hey, you want to be great? You want to have a job at the major league level?
Do you want to play?
You want to play? Well, let's work.
Yeah.
Let's go to work and really try and make you a better ball player, because this is the big leagues.
Good change up there by Mejia as he works into the 6th inning, and it's 1-2 on Morales, who's hit a couple of fly balls to center.
Believe it or not, I have seen young players come to the big leagues and think, okay, I'm here, I'm good.
Right. I made it.
And coaches say, all right, let's go work on this. And they say, okay, I'll be down in a minute. And then they never show up. I swear. And
then they wind up back at AAA.
They're out of the game in 3 years.
Yep.
You know, getting here is one thing. Staying here is another thing.
Two balls, two strikes on Kendrys Morales. Solarte aboard on a base hit to begin the 6th. Popped up. Will it drop fair? It will. A base hit for Morales. Solarte to second on the play.
That is successful because Joe Mauer, the first baseman, has to hold the runner on at first base. So no chance for Mauer to get it. Dozier is playing in the shift and closer to the bag. He's not going to get it. You see how far Mauer has to go. If he's playing in his regular position, he catches that ball easily. Morales will take it. Wasn't hit that hard, but he will take that base hit.
All right, let's see if the Blue Jays can get something going here and make this one a little bit more of a contest. They're down 8-1. The first 2 men are on here in the 6th inning for Devin Travis, who's 1 for 2. Down and in, 2 balls, no strikes. And Mejia now at 89 pitches as activity begins in the Minnesota bullpen. Trevor Hildenberger is up. Oh no, excuse me, it is Matt Belisle. Forgive us, Matt Belisle is up in the bullpen, not Hildenberger.
They had the wrong name on the scoreboard here, but that is the veteran Belisle.
Two and one now on Travis.
But Mejia has done his job. He has gotten his team into the 6th inning with the lead. But if you're Paul Molitor, you'd like to see him finish this inning. Make his job, Molitor's job, just a little bit easier.
Well, given that he's facing the bottom of the order and given that it's a 7-run lead, Paul Molitor may let him stay an extra batter or 2 than he would have under different circumstances. Two on with nobody out, and the 2-2 fouled back by Travis. Here's where you don't want to think about trying to do too much. Can't get it all back with one swing. Just see if you can pass the baton.
Yeah, just keep that line moving. Have competitive at bats. Figure a way to get on.
Which Travis does. Solarte will be held, and the Blue Jays have the bases loaded with nobody out.
That's how you fight off a tough pitch right there. You're going to get some action in the pen.
And the pitching coach Garvin Alston is on his way to the mound right now for the Twins.
Just to slow things down. Devin Travis is going to fight off that pitch. That's a good 2-strike approach to try to throw that fastball inside. The Super Slow-Mo is brought to you by the Samsung S9 and S9 Plus. The camera reimagined. Available now. Travis keeps that line moving by dumping that ball in front of Rosario in left field. The Blue Jays have something going here. This is probably Mejia's last batter. There's a lefty up in Smith. If you're watching, he's lost a little something on his fastball and his control, and the Blue Jays have made him pay.
Bases loaded, nobody out. Dwight Smith Jr. is the batter. He's 0 for 2. Fastball there for his strike. 0-1.
A message from the pitching coach might have been, hey, this is your last batter. Give me everything you got here. Try and get him out. He's done his job. Like I said, he's gotten his team to the 6th inning with the lead.
Yeah, for a spot start. And a guy who could be on his way back to the minor leagues after the game tonight. A little bit inside. Check swing there by Smith. 1-1. John Gibbons talked last week about, just before the All-Star break, about how competitive an at-bat he feels Smith gives the Blue Jays against left-handed pitching. And with the current way the outfield looks with two lefties, Granderson and Smith, one of them's got to play every time a lefty is on the mound.
Yeah, he's been giving good at bats. He always ends up battling and putting the ball in play. Granderson has played the first two games in the outfield against the Orioles.
Alongside the injured Kevin Pilar in the Blue Jay dugout. 1-2 to Smith. And it's strike three called. Mejia rings him up for the first out. And Paul Molitor is on his way out to the mound, so he wanted to leave Mejia in to face the lefty, and now he's decided to make the change. Mejia, though, 5 1/3, leaves with a lead. Catcher likes it, infielders like it, Molitor likes it, and it's onto the bullpen. Matt Belisle is on his way in. Bases loaded, 1 out. Luke Maley scheduled to bat.
Second round draft pick of the Braves back in 1998. First came to the big league with the Cincinnati Reds in 2003. He's been moving around lately. He was with the Indians organization earlier this season before he was released. Re-signed by Minnesota. He spent 2017 with Minnesota. Here are the 22 games this year. Fastball, curveball, slider.
Luke Maley, the batter. He's 5 for 13 in his career with the bases loaded. He's 0 for 2 tonight. Since the first pitch foul down the right side, well back into the seats, 0-1. Consecutive singles by Solarte, Morales, and Travis to load the bases before Smith struck out. On the appeal, he went around, and it's 0-2.
That's the hard-breaking ball that Belisle has. Now, not so anxious. Spread out, try and make contact. Put the ball in play, get some RBIs. This is the first time in his career that Luke has faced Matt Belisle.
The 1-2. And did a good job to lay off that pitch down and away. You can see that slider's in exactly the same location as the one he went after a couple of pitches ago.
Yeah, but because he has 2 strikes, he's tracking that ball just a little bit deeper. trying to wait on that breaking ball as long as possible. Didn't even offer at that one.
Fastball runs inside. It's a full count.
His strength as a pitcher, Belial, has always been his ability to throw strikes. He doesn't walk too many batters. He's a pitch away, though, from walking Maley after he jumped ahead 0-2.
And the crowd are getting into it now with the bases loaded and a full count on Maley. Swing and a miss, 2 down. And so it'll be up to Randal Grichuk.
You knew he had to challenge him with a fastball. No place to put him for seamer. And it comes up empty. He wasn't going to trick him with the bases loaded and just 1 out on a 3-2 pitch. He was just going to challenge him with a fastball.
So now Grichuk, who has walked, flied out and grounded out. Fastball 0-1. Pretty good numbers for Grichuk in his career with the bases loaded, as you can see. Well, the Blue Jays loaded them with nobody out here. Now back-to-back strikeouts of Smith and Maley. And a fly ball to right field, but not deep enough. It is caught shy of the track by Grossman, and the Blue Jays will leave the bases loaded here in the bottom of the 6th, and they're still down 8-1.
First 20,000 fans will receive this Aaron Sanchez blue replica jersey. Then watch the Blue Jays host the Boston Red Sox at 7:07 p.m. For tickets, visit BlueJays.com.
Hazel, thank you. Jaime Garcia will make his 2nd relief appearance of the season.
The first one came in Boston. He was only able to get a couple of outs. It took him 20 pitches, 3 walks. That was a problem there. He's been shuffled off to the bullpen after starting this season with Blue Jays in the starting rotation. He made 13 starts with the Blue Jays. 2-6 record. There are the numbers all the way around. He's facing his former team, but he wasn't there very long with the Minnesota Twins.
Yeah, he was with Atlanta. And Minnesota said, you know what, we're in it last year. Let's go make a trade. Let's pick up an experienced arm. And Garcia was the guy they acquired. As Jorge Polanco takes a first pitch strike. And then things didn't go that well for the Twins. And just a few days later, was getting right about this time of the season, obviously, the trade deadline. They said, you know what, maybe we're not in it. And maybe we should be sellers. And so he was traded to the Yankees. Here's a ground ball down to third, right at Solarte for the first out.
Beauty Tone is the official paint of the Toronto Blue Jays. Only available at Home Hardware. Here's how.
Now they're just toying with us. Like now they're just messing with us.
Where's the meat? I need the meat.
I'll tell you what, I'll call the rest of the inning. Go get us a couple. One down. Here's Max Kepler. He homered his last time out.
Jaime has, excuse me, Dan, he has been a reliever in the past.
Yeah.
I mean, he hasn't just been a starter. This is the 13th time that he has come in as a reliever. He's had 3 holds, no saves, a 1-1 record, but 3 holds. Job now, just come in and just pound the strike zone. He's got outstanding stuff movement-wise. He's moving all over the place.
And it's clear the Blue Jays want to take a look at Baraki and Gaviglio in the rotation, and he's a bullpen guy now. It doesn't appear like there's no talk of him going back to the rotation right now, at least.
I think a lot of it depends on what happens over the next 10 days or so.
Yep.
Week 10 days, the trade deadline. If the Blue Jays end up making a trade and losing some of their starters, he could be right back in there. But it's just he throws and has so much movement. Just aim to the middle of the plate and let that movement take it away from the bat.
And a fly ball lifted to center field. And Grichuk is there, 2 down. Just to finish up the story on last year, so he's with Atlanta until July 21st is his last start. He gets traded to Minnesota, makes 1 start in Oakland, wins the game. But the Twins overall don't do well in that period. They decide they're not in it anymore, and they trade him to the Yankees. So he made 3 consecutive starts for 3 different teams last year. And then the irony, of course, is Minnesota actually made the playoffs last year. They were in the wild card game and played against the Yankees.
The Yankees.
So there you go.
So he was going to be in the playoffs one way or another.
One way or another.
Right.
So he got 2 playoff shares last year. Oh, who knows what they gave him. He was only with Minnesota for like a week. But he won a game.
He might have got a playoff share.
Yep. Mitch Garver's had a good night. He's got 3 hits. Joe Mauer's got 3 hits. Logan Morrison's got 3 RBIs. There's a strike and it's 0-2. Jake Patricia settled things down a little bit last inning. 3 up, 3 down with a couple of strikeouts. And now Jaime Garcia looking for a 3 up, 3 down inning. And he got it. As Garver went around to the breaking ball, the Twins go in order. 7th inning stretch at Rogers Center. all-star lineup.
Blue Jays came into this game tied for 4th with the most home runs against left-handed pitching this season. Well, here's another one right here. Eduardo Escobar with this missile to left field. Nearly 400 feet. Another home run for Gurriel, his 5th of the season. Got the Blue Jays on the board. Tonight's drive of the game from Lourdes Gurriel. Blue Jays now have hit 38 home runs against left-handed pitching. Only the Rockies, Yankees, and Astros have hit more.
One defensive change for the Twins. Ere Adrianza comes in at third base for Eduardo Escobar. Minnesota leading 8-1, bottom of the 7th. And here's Gurriel to be followed by Smoke and Hernandez. And a hot shot base hit into right field. And for Gurriel, his 6th consecutive multi-hit game. What a role he's on at the plate. Let's check in with Jamie. All right, interesting stuff there. And here, Gurriel, 6 consecutive multi-hit games. Just the 3rd Blue Jay rookie to accomplish that. You got to go all the way back to 1977. Al Woods, pretty good hitter and outfielder, holds the Blue Jay record with 7, and Gurriel will have a chance to tie that record in his next game.
He tied Johnny O, who did it 6 consecutive games.
He can hit, Tabby. You got to find a spot for him out in the field, but he can hit. Here's Justin Smoke, 2 for 3. What do you like about Gurriel at the plate? Like his mechanics, his technique, his mindset? What do you like about him?
All of the above. But first of all, his swing is simple. He's got a very simple swing. There's not a lot of effort that he puts into it. I think he understands hitting. He gets that from his father. His father was a great hitter back in Cuba. He understands his swing. It's a simple swing. It's a swing that doesn't look like it's going to go into long slumps because there's not a lot of extra movement. It's very quiet. I think he's going to grow into his body and grow into his swing. He's going to be a home run hitter, I think. If he plays every day, he has the ability to hit 20 to 25 home runs. He's just learning the game of baseball. Now, that doesn't mean that he's just started to play it. He's played baseball his whole life. But at this level, it's learning the game of baseball at this level. The little things that it takes to succeed. He's got a chance to be pretty good.
One and 2, the count on Smoke. That hit for Gurriel, the 9th hit for the Blue Jays tonight, but they've only got 1 run. That on a Gurriel home run. The Jays have already left 9 men on, including the bases loaded in the 6th. Strike 3 called. Smoke thought it was high, but Belial rings him up.
This 4K broadcast is brought to you by the Samsung QLED TV. See nothing else.
Dan Shulman along with Pat Tabler and Hazel May here in the opening game of this series between the Twins and the Blue Jays. And it's been pretty one-sided so far. This bullpen night for the Blue Jays did not go particularly well out of the gate as the Twins scored early and often. And it's 8-1 here. Not that the Blue Jays haven't had their chances, but as we mentioned, they've left a lot of men on. Let's see what Teoscar Hernandez can do. He's 1 for 3. Does he see a lot of sliders?
No, well, the book is out.
Yeah,
it's out there that pitching fastballs up At times he'll get up underneath it and breaking balls off the plate.
Kind of very typical, though, for a right-handed power hitter, right? See if he's got a hole up with a fastball or down and away with a slider. And on the appeal, didn't go, so it is 3 balls, no strikes.
This is where John Gibbons might give him the green light. Let him swing away. Pitch from Belial. That's a check swing, and it's up. Blue Jays have 9 hits tonight, 8 singles. Their game is about power. They had a chance last inning with 3 straight singles to lead that inning off, and they just couldn't score a run.
And there's ball 4. So 2 men on as we send it back to Jamie again. Picked up Juris Familia. Oakland has closed within 3 games of Seattle for the second wild card spot. And there are the Blue Jays. You can see they've done a lot of damage late in games. Been one of the best offensive teams in the American League. 7th inning on. They're going to need a lot to get back into this one, but maybe building something here.
Well, a single here, a walk there, a home run, and all of a sudden you're right back in it. That's why it hurt last inning. You got the first 3 guys on and you couldn't score. It's a bullpen that the Minnesota Twins will throw out there that at times this year have had their problems. They are 13th in relief earned run average in the American League. They have also given up 54 home runs this season, the bullpen for Minnesota. So just keep pecking away, get guys on there. Maybe somebody pop one.
Hop back out of play, and it's 0-2 on Yangervis Solarte, who is 1 for 3 on the night. Tomorrow night, Ryan Borucki returns from the minor leagues for the Blue Jays after being optioned out before the break. And really, it was just a chance with the All-Star break to get an extra reliever, an extra arm onto the roster. They weren't going to use Borucki, so he goes down to the minor. He didn't even start when he was down there for 10 days. I'm sure he threw on the side and is ready to go, but he will be back tomorrow night, and then Sam Gaviglio will make the start on Wednesday afternoon. The Blue Jays will see the Minnesota Twins All-Star representative tomorrow night, Jose Barrios. Young guy with a lot of talent.
Yes, he's very good and getting better. Sam Gaviglio will be matched up against Irvin Santana on Wednesday afternoon.
It's a fair ball. Nice stop by Mauer, and they'll get the out at first on the feed to Belial. The runners advance with 2 down.
He has really turned into a good player over at first base. Remember, he was a catcher. He's got good hands. He's made 2 errors all season long over there at first base. Saves a run right here by snaring that hard ground ball, and then the easy flip over to Belial to get the out. It's not easy going from catcher to a position, and especially a corner position, because the ball gets on you so quickly. But Mauer's a great athlete. Shows you why right there.
He was a great quarterback back in the day, wasn't he? So second and third, 2 down, and the batter is Kendrys Morales, 1 for 3. They are holding out hope this team can get something going. I've got the Jays at 1 for 10 with runners in scoring position tonight.
Well, let me check. That's the wrong team. I'm looking at the Twins. They're 4 for 4. Yeah, 1 for 10.
1 for 10.
9 left on.
1 for 11. And 2 more men left on. A total of 11 now through 7 innings.
Inspire change all across Canada. And all season long, we celebrate unstoppable kids in Jays Care programs. Visit jayscare.com/unstoppablekids to support and learn more. In case you missed it earlier, Marco Estrada was supposed to make a minor league rehab start with AA New Hampshire Fisher Cats in Reading, Pennsylvania tonight, but as Dan mentioned, his flight was canceled. The plan now is for him to pitch tomorrow night in Louisville for the Buffalo Bisons. Dan.
All right, so thank you, Hazel. They're hoping to get him back. If it goes well in Louisville, then he will rejoin the Blue Jays on the road trip. And because they've got the off day Thursday, they can still figure it out. His next start, I guess, would figure to be maybe Sunday, the last game against the White Sox.
Well, let's see. What is tomorrow? Tuesday?
Tomorrow's Tuesday.
Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
There you go.
Would work.
Which would give him 1 start before the trade deadline. Our team's interested. Could he show enough in 1 start? Is there a deal out there worth making? Now Marco's the kind of guy, he could clear waivers in August too. If you clear waivers in August, you can get dealt to anybody.
Get traded, sure.
That has a lot to do with your contract. So.
Don't you think teams know who Marco Estrada is right now?
I think they know who he is, but they want to see that he's healthy. So yes, to answer your question, if he goes out and has 1 good start, I think that would be enough to entice somebody if they were interested in him to begin with.
So it's not about if he's good enough or if he's healthy enough, and he will be fine.
John Gibbons was asked after the game last night, did you think about sending Happ back out there for the 6th inning to get him the ovation? Because last night was in all likelihood his last home start. If he's still a Blue Jay, he'll start once on the road, but it's hard to imagine him being here after July 31st. But at the end of the 5th, you're not, and the fans are not really in that mode at the end of an inning, and there wasn't kind of any, extra big ovation for Jay Happ.
You're trying to win the game.
Right.
That's the last thing that you're thinking about. You're trying to do stuff, and Gibbons said that at the end of the game. Well, I'll do something else to recognize him. Talk about him really nice on the camera or something like that. But his job is to win the ball game, and that's all he was worried about.
Got to be on Happ's mind. He doesn't want to make a big deal out of it. He's answered the questions for several days now, and I'm sure he's answered them as much as he wants to answer them because he doesn't know where he's going. And he said, I don't want to play the what if game, really. It's just he has no choice but to wait and see what happens.
I never was like Jay in Jay's situation where teams really wanted me and multiple teams wanted me. But I could imagine that would get really old really fast. Every day somebody saying something to you, or nowadays you can read it everywhere. 50 times, it would get really old talking about getting traded.
Travis on to first in time to get a Mauer 2 down. Meanwhile, there was a good sight today at the ballpark. This is 8 days after the injury suffered by Kevin Malar. He has started to work on range of motion. He's been in the pool, and he started throwing a baseball today. Whoever would have thought that, given what we saw and what we heard about the injury back in Boston.
Yeah, and given what we saw in his arm yesterday, the bone's still protruding just a little bit, but he's getting his running in. He has said, you know, I asked him the other day, 6 or 8 weeks, right? And he said 4. 4 to 6. You know he is dying to get back out there. And I was surprised when I saw him throwing a baseball. I didn't think he had a chance to throw a baseball for a while.
That didn't look like babying a baseball either. He was throwing it.
He looked good.
Yeah.
And he was saying that he's worked with some weights, some small weights, to try to strengthen the shoulder already. Yeah. Good for him.
Jaime Garcia's retired all 5 batters he's faced.
He's a baseball player. He wants to be out on the field. Guys who are used to playing every day, going out there and getting into their routine, suddenly have to stop doing that. You don't know what you're going to do with yourself sitting on the bench. You go crazy.
One and one on Eddie Rosario, who's 0 for 4 on the night. Twins up 8-1 here in the top of the 8th inning. And a high fly ball towards the left field corner. And Hernandez will make the catch just in fair territory for out number 3. Time now for a Blue Jays Central update. Here's Jamie Campbell with Kevin Barker in the Samsung broadcast studio. Baseball partnership, and it may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of Rogers Blue Jays Baseball Partnership. 8-1, the Twins lead the Blue Jays going to the bottom of the 8th. The new pitcher is Matt McGill.
McGill, 20 games this year out of the bullpen for Minnesota in 35 innings. Pretty decent 350 earned run average, fastball, slider, changeup, and a curve. He was a starter in the minor leagues. Now he's transitioned into a reliever. A couple other changes for Minnesota.
Taylor Motter takes over for Brian Dozier at second base. And the new left fielder is Jake Cave, taking over for Eddie Rosario. Devin Travis leads it off for the Blue Jays. Travis 2 hits and 3 at-bats tonight. He'll be followed by Dwight Smith Jr., And then Luke Maley.
That'll wake you up.
Yeah. Checking to make sure that mask is still in one piece. I'll tell you, I don't know how they do it.
Yeah. I caught when I was like 10 years old. And I said, never again. Never again. I couldn't get the equipment on. I didn't know how to put it on.
Well, you were 10. You'd have figured that out by the time you were, 15, 16.
No. It just didn't feel natural at all. Then one day, I thought I'd be smart, and I would go catch a bullpen in the big leagues with the Blue Jays. I wasn't playing that day. Good pitch from McGill for the first out, and I thought I'd go catch a bullpen.
You just volunteered because you wanted to?
Yeah. I wasn't doing anything that day, so I'll go down there and save my teammates a chance, and that's the last time I did that.
Who was it?
Who was pitching?
Whose bullpen did you catch?
Ken Daly.
Ken Daly.
Ken Daly. And I couldn't
lefty.
walk literally for a week. My legs hurt so bad. I don't know how Russell does it. That is a tough job behind that plate, day in and day out.
I especially don't know how they do it when you've got like a 16-inning game or something like that, and they catch the whole game. How do you get out of bed the next morning?
And then try to hit.
Yeah.
And then run the bases. I don't know how they do it.
No wonder he's got such a smile on his face when he's at third or short or something like that. Night off for Russell Martin tonight. Luke Maley behind the plate. Dwight Smith's 0 for 3. Smith was checking to see if that was a called strike or a swinging strike. Called strike was the word from David Rackley. Got a piece of it.
McGill originally was drafted by the Dodgers back in 2008. Came up through that Dodger organization, so you know he's got a good curveball. That last pitch was pretty nasty. This season, he's averaged a strikeout per inning. 33 strikeouts and just 6 walks this season out of the bullpen. Managers love that. Come out, don't walk anybody. Challenge those hitters.
Two balls, 2 strikes, the count on Smith. Wow. I think McGill and Garver both thought that was going to be strike 3.
No, PitchCast has 4 pitches within the strike zone.
And it's 3-2. I fouled one off, so but the Blue Jays catch a break on that one, it looks like. And that one outside for ball 4.
At the Honda Checkered Flag event, the real victory lap is the drive home.
Bottom of the 8th, 8-1 Twins. Luke Maley's up. He's 0 for 3 with a couple of strikeouts tonight. Crowd of 25,405 here at the ballpark tonight to open up this series with Minnesota. The Twins' only trip here to Toronto this year. And it's 0-2 in a hurry on Maley.
It's a pretty good fastball. 96 with some movement.
Corey Kluber got roughed up tonight, Tabby, for the Indians. That doesn't happen all that often. Cleveland's down 7-0 to the rampaging Pittsburgh Pirates tonight, who look like they're on their way to their 10th consecutive win.
The last time I checked, Cleveland had 1 hit.
They have 2 now. And only 3 of the 7 were earned on Kluber, so that there was a Yonder Alonso error. Dropped a pop-up, it looks like. That was obviously very damaging. Another strikeout, 2 down. And Pittsburgh, you know, they weren't really in it 10 days ago or 2 weeks ago with the All-Star break. Now they've won 10 in a row. They're getting back into it. You know, the Pirates, remember, they got rid of Garrett Cole. They got rid of Andrew McCutchen. Can they turn around? They're not a big spending team. Can they turn around and maybe add some pieces now?
I think you have to be honest with yourself. If you're in that organization, you're running that organization, do you really think you're in it? I mean, would you sell off some of your young kids? I mean, what message are you sending if you take, let's just say, Ivan Nova, who just came off the Sable list and he pitched the other day? What message are you sending to your fans and to your team if you start trading those guys?
Popped up in the infield by Grichuk, and that's all for the Blue Jays in the bottom of the 8th. It remains Twins 8 and the Jays 1.
For your Toronto Blue Jays. Come visit us at the Toronto Eaton Center, Rogers Center gates 1 and 5, and every in-stadium kiosk. jshop.ca for more information or call 1-877-JSHOP.
Thank you, Hazel. Top 9 at Rogers Center. Twins 8, Blue Jays 1. The batter was Ere Adrianza, who came on defensively an inning ago for Eduardo Escobar. Jaime Garcia, in his 3rd inning on the mound for the Blue Jays, has set down all 6 batters he's faced. And a one-hopper back to the mound. And an easy play for Garcia, 1 down. As you said, Tabby, it's always been about throwing strikes. And John Gibbons has said that a lot this year. If Garcia's in the strike zone, he can be very effective.
Yeah, the ball, he can't throw a ball straight. I think it's impossible. Just the way he throws it, it moves all over the place. He's had good years when he was in the National League, when he was with St. Louis. Early in his career, he had good years.
Trying to transition into this bullpen role. Whatever that may be, if he stays in the bullpen, and again, there could be a lot of changes on the pitching staff in the next 8 days or so. You know, whether it's as a specialist, whether it's as more of a long man in the bullpen, you know, as was the case here tonight.
Blue Jays don't have a long man in their pen.
No.
I think you need one nowadays. If that starter gets knocked out, if you ask a pitcher to throw 1 inning and you have a bullpen full of 1 inning guys and now they have to throw 2, you're not going to do it.
They're just not conditioned to do it anymore.
Right.
But Garcia stretched out by virtue of having been a starter.
They can save a bullpen, long men who can go 4 innings, 5 innings. Remember back in the day, some of those Blue Jay teams in the mid-'80s, Dennis Lamp was a very valuable pitcher coming out of that bullpen.
Mark Eichhorn was a guy like that.
Yeah.
Submariner that he could go multiple innings easily.
They'd win 9 or 10 games out of the bullpen only because the starter got knocked out in the 3rd inning. They'd take it all the way to the 9th inning and give your offense a chance to come back and win the game. That type of pitcher, we don't see that much anymore.
The ground ball to short. Up with it, Gurriel. 2 down. So 8 in a row set down now by Jaime Garcia. Well, hard to find a lot of positives to take out of this game if you're the Blue Jays, but this is one of them right here. Just seeing him throw strikes, which he did not do in his first relief appearance against Boston just before the break, but seeing Garcia perhaps ready and able to contribute out of the bullpen.
Just in case something happens over the next week or so. He's got 4 ground ball outs, a couple of strikeouts, a couple of fly balls.
Facing Logan Morrison. Who's had a good night, including a home run back in the 5th. And if Garcia finishes off the top of the 9th, that means the Blue Jays will have avoided using San Juan O, Tyler Clippard, Ryan Tepera, and John Axford tonight, which I guess is, you know, lose a battle, win a war if you can have those guys available tomorrow night.
I think that was the whole idea for John Gibbons. The other pitchers, other than those 4 guys that you mentioned, they've been getting a lot of work this year. The 4 that you mentioned. Save them for tomorrow. You might need them.
And the 1-2. And he went around. So Morrison strikes out, and Jaime Garcia retires all 9 batters he faces tonight.
Sportsnet. Presented by Honda. The Honda Checkered Flag event is back. Hurry in to grab the Civic that matches your game.
We go to the bottom of the ninth here at Rogers Center. Dan Schulman, Pat Tabler, Hazel May, and Fernando Rodney is on to get some work here for Minnesota.
Newly Americanized Fernando Rodney. That was the big question last Sunday. Why he came in the 5th inning and then left. Well, he had a flight to catch. Go down to Miami, and he became an American citizen from the Dominican Republic, but very excited about being an American citizen. He is the closer. Obviously, this is not a closing situation for Rodney, so he's getting a chance to get some work.
Yeah, you mentioned not a safe situation, obviously, but worth mentioning. He's got 321 career saves. He is tied for 19th all time. By the end of the year, he'll probably be in the top 15. First pitch swinging, Gurriel, fly ball, but straight away center and just enough room to hold it 1 down. Time now for a preview of what's coming up on Sportsnet Central. Here are Ken and Ivanka. All right, guys, thank you. Looking forward to that. 1 down here in the 9th, and here's Justin Smoak, who's 2 for 4.
Rodney just keeps rolling along, doesn't he? He first came to the big leagues with the Detroit Tigers back in 1999, and he's basically done it with 2 pitches, fastball and an outstanding changeup. Just keeps doing his thing, just keeps rolling right along. Still has that big fastball.
He's 41 years old. He's been with Detroit, the Angels, the Rays, the Mariners, the Cubs, the Padres, the Marlins, the Diamondbacks, and the Twins. And he's been a closer for just about every one of those teams. Smoak got jammed and lifts one down the right field line. And Motter, that's the second baseman way out there trying to make an unbelievable play. Just out of his reach, and Smoak has his 3rd hit of the night. This one's a double.
Yeah, he will take that one. It looked like he got jammed a little bit on that fastball from Rodney.
Look at Smoak saying, can you believe the second baseman almost got that ball?
Well, he was so deep on that shift. There's Motter, the second baseman. And the right fielder was really shading him to the gap, so Robbie Grossman had no chance to get it.
Have you ever seen an infielder try to make a play that close to the outfield wall?
No.
Ever?
No.
He's laughing about it. Smoak's probably getting on him about it. Now that pitch will get away from Garver, and Smoak will jog to 3rd.
This was the team, the Minnesota Twins, that played 4 outfielders against Justin Smoak when we faced him in Target Field. Would have worked there.
Wild pitch charged on that play. And the Twins obviously will play the infield back with a runner at 3rd, 1 out, and a 7-run lead here in the bottom of the 9th. Teoscar Hernandez 1 for 3 with a walk. If Motter had caught that ball, I think Justin Smoak might have retired right on the spot.
He's one of those super utility type of players, so he's played all over the place, and he almost came up with it. That's twice on this homestand that Smoak has hit a ball down there for extra bases.
3-1. So
Yeah.
how far did he go?
Well, let's see. StatCast will tell us. Pretty good route so far. He went 100 and almost 13 feet.
And that's ball 4. So often it's tough for a closer who needs work coming on in this type of a situation. You just can't manufacture that adrenaline. Sometimes you're just not sharp. He appears to be lacking adrenaline right now if you look at him.
He's done it so many times. He knows what he needs to do to get back and get outs. That changeup is filthy. Really hasn't thrown one yet. With an 8-1 lead, he's just going to throw fastballs.
Solarte with a fly ball to left field. Smoke is tagging and will come home as the throw comes into second. Sac fly makes it 8-2. RBI number 52 on the season for Solarte. But the Blue Jays are now down to their final out. And the batter will be Kendrys Morales. Jose Barrios and Ryan Borucki tomorrow night in the second game of the series. A couple of fastballs missing outside. 2-0. Blue Jay Central at 6:30. First pitch just after 7 Eastern time. Runner is going. Pitch taken for a strike, and Hernandez into second on defensive indifference. Swing and a miss. 2-2.
Dialing it up now to save some of those runs. That one at 96. He last worked on the 15th.
41-year-old who throws 96.
Yeah, with a devastating changeup, and he's not going to show it to him. At least he hasn't so far. Only if he has to.
Fastball line the other way. That's a base hit. And Teoscar's getting the wave. The throw is not in time. RBI single Morales makes it 8-3.
Another fastball from Rodney. He knows the score. He knows what's going on here. He just throws it in there. The defensive indifference pays off for the Jays. Gets Morales another RBI. He's just challenging those hitters.
And Morales a 2-hit night. Here's Devin Travis, who's had a couple of hits. The Jays now with 13 hits on the night, but again just stranded so many runners early. Missed out on some opportunities, most notably in the 6th. When they had the bases loaded with nobody out and didn't score. So I give credit to the fans who are still here in the ballpark tonight for their energy level. They're still into it.
They've seen enough comebacks. This one would be incredible. 26 comeback wins for the Blue Jays this year.
And if they make Rodney throw enough pitches tonight, maybe they weaken him a little bit for tomorrow night.
Good point.
In a closer situation. And he gets Travis, and that'll do it. The Blue Jays get a couple of runs, but fall short here in the opening game of the series as the Twins take the opener by a score of 8-3, snapping their losing streak and the Blue Jays winning streak.
Yeah, the bullpen day just didn't work out for the Blue Jays. They had to go through 6 pitchers to throw 9 innings. The Minnesota Twins have been struggling to score runs. They scored 10 runs in that Kansas City series, that whole 3-game series. Tonight, 13 hits in 8 runs on 13 hits. Tomorrow night, a couple of really good pitchers in Barrios and Borucki going back at it tomorrow.
8-3 the final as the Twins take the opener here in Toronto. Time now for Sportsnet Central. Back to the studio, and once again, here are Ken and Ivanka.